Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. And as always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast. Happy Tuesday to you and yours. It's April Fool's. It's April 1st, but there's no fooling around today on the program. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe, hit that notifications bell so you get a notification when we go live. Share this on all your social media platforms so we can get bigger and better every single day. Hit those super chats. Make sure we can read those comments on the air. You get a super chat, you automatically get your comment to the top of the queue, and we will read them here on the show. Plenty to get into today. The Rays keep on rolling. That's 3 wins in their first 4 after the 6-1 victory over the Pirates last night at Steinbrenner Field. We'll chat with Rays radio voice Chris Adams-Wall at 12:15 on the program. We'll see what Chris has to say about everything that has gone on so far with Tampa Bay. Really exciting to see those guys come out of the gates, and that's what they have to do. They got to keep swinging it. They got to make sure that they can put the ball in play, and I just like that there's so many different tiers and facets of the game that has worked so well through 4 games. Got to keep that thing going tonight with Shane Baz on the mound, facing the team that drafted him originally, the Pittsburgh Pirates. So this is the time. All these home games, your first 2 opponents aren't the strongest. Got to win series. Keep on. We talk about it in hockey, munching points, keep munching victories here in now April for the major leagues. Also, Lightning in action tonight at UBS Arena against the New York Islanders. We'll give you a heads up of what the lines look like for tonight in that game. Congratulations to Nick Paul, proud papa. He missed practice the other day, but now we know why. So how great is that to hear? Awesome. Really, really good stuff from Nick Paul, and everything with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Got to keep those winning ways going themselves here as we get down to the nitty-gritty. Only a few games left on the schedule. It's a nice little 4-game road trip. Then they return for a couple of games and then go back on the road for one final game at MSG against the Rangers. Got to keep pace with everybody else. We'll get more. You'll get to that a little bit more here in a bit. Also, torpedo bats. More and more research has come up. I spoke to my guy Alan Gutcher from Beacon Bats about torpedo bats last night, and also I'm just going to give you my 2 cents on the entire thing after we talk to Chris Adams-Wall. Also, NFL meetings across the state. A lot of information coming out. We got some new rules coming out. Todd Bowles spoke today, so we'll talk about that all at 1 o'clock. At 1:30. Bobby the Chief Taylor is going to join us. I sit next to him on the left in the press box up there at Amalie Arena. Never a dull moment for Bobby the Chief Taylor and myself. So he's going to join us at 1:30. What do the Lightning have to do to continue to play well as we get closer and closer to the postseason? And then a Monday Night Raw recap. Did you see what happened last night? My goodness. Well, it was yesterday afternoon, I guess, with how everything has changed with this overseas tour. All these Monday Night Raws, and yesterday's was in London, so 8 o'clock their time, 3 o'clock our time. But that battle between Cody Rhodes and John Cena, and then Gunther absolutely brutalizing Jimmy Uso right in front of his brother Jay. We'll get into that, and then we'll finish the show today at 2:15. USF softball standout Dania Brooks is going to join us. She plays the hot corner there for the Bulls. She's going to stop by to talk to the Bulls' strong start to the season, what it's like to play for an incredible coach in Ken Erickson, and also what is it like to be the daughter of the great Derek Brooks, double nickel. Derek Brooks' daughter, Dania, Tampa's own third baseman for the USF Bulls on the softball side. She is going to join us at 2:15. Questions, comments, concerns, leave them there at the bottom. Again, if you want them to the top of the queue, make sure that you use that super chat button so we can get to you no matter what. Real quick, no problem, David Terry. We appreciate you, buddy. Shout out to Bart Hill and Benny and Dolan. Good win for the Rays is right. Our guy Nick in Sarasota, loving the look feel of Rays season so far. Steinbrenner not built for true night games. Lights, cast, shadows that almost remind me of classic arena pictures before smoking inside was banned. Yeah, I just had that conversation a couple of weeks ago with somebody working at restaurants when the first thing that you were asked when you stepped in was smoking or non-smoking. Just the different world here in 2025. I like it. I think it's just a different look altogether, and it doesn't seem to be affecting the Rays because they scored in the 4th inning, the 6th inning, and the 8th inning last night. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You got to be able to kind of make the best of the situation, and that's why from the beginning of the season, one of the things that I articulated about the Rays was that if there's one team that can deal with the craziness and the uniquity of the season, I think it's the Rays. They know how it is. They know that they can't complain about their circumstance. They also, when they bring guys in, whether they draft them, whether they sign them, whether they trade for them, there's also those guys. I mean, you bring in players that have that mindset of like, we can't complain. We just got to, adjust. And baseball is such a game of failure. You need to be so mentally strong. I think the Rays guys have to be even stronger because of what they have to deal with on a daily basis. So I like it. I think it's kind of a built-in us against the world type of thing for Tampa Bay. And they did it again yesterday. When you look at the 7 straight scoreless innings that they were able to have, 5 of them coming from Drew Rasmussen, he picks up his first start of the year. When Drew Rasmussen is throwing the ball well, he's not walking anybody. He's staying around the zone. He pounds the strike zone. 5 innings, 2 hits, 4 Ks. Again, no walks. If he can give you that every 5th day, I mean, this is a guy that's pitching your 4th game, right? This is the 4th guy in your rotation. And at any time, this guy can go out there and have no-hit stuff. That's why a great discussion that we have over the years is who's the next Ray to throw a no-hitter. It could really be anybody. Because of these guys and the stuff, because of the stuff that these guys have. I mean, could it be a Pepio? Could it be a Taj? Could it be a Boz, a Rasmussen? Could it be, I don't know if it's Zach Littell because he doesn't have the swing and miss stuff, but who knows if the defense plays up to their capabilities, it could be him. And then if Shane McClanahan comes back and he reaches his form, it could be him too. We just don't know. But like what I've seen so far from the pitchers, and you're seeing the guy swinging the bat, 10 hits yesterday, spreading them out. I mean, somebody go get some more Mangum. Jake Mangum making his MLB debut a couple of days ago. Did you see I've seen so many different stories on him. The mayor of Starkville, his parents and their comments, and driving 10 hours to be able to be there for him when he made his major league debut. And then yesterday, 4 hits, 4 for 4. That is the type of story that you want to follow. That's the type of story that you want to remember. And part of the reason why you want to cheer for the Rays, these endearing type stories that, and again, it's the bad thing, right? When we're talking about the Rays and we're talking about how you can't attach to a player. You can't, all right, this is the type of guy that I can buy a jersey because he's going to be here for 10 years. Okay, well, maybe you don't have that with the Rays. But what you do have is you do have these stories every season, whether it's a Brett Phillips, whether it's a Sergio Romo, whether it's a Jake Mangum, that you can hang your hat on and go, wow, these are the type of stories that make me invested into the team, make me invested in the players, make me invested into the product as a whole. And for this kid to be able to come out and he's 4 for his first 7, I'm like, sign him up, man. You keep hitting like that, you're going to be MLB Player of the Week. But he is that prototypical Rays player. Arduous journey, making his major league debut at 29 years old, and now making the most out of the opportunity. I mean, you look at a guy that was 2 for 3 last night with an RBI double, and Jonathan Aranda. I mean, he is another guy. Excuse me, it wasn't a RBI double, but it was a double nonetheless. He came around to score. But this was a guy, 2 for 3 last night with a run scored and a walk. We were wondering, is Jonathan Aranda going to be another one of those guys that is really good at the AAA level, but he's more of that 4A guy, that quad A guy who doesn't really translate when he gets to the big leagues. And that's, he's getting an opportunity. I mean, getting to the game last night, you're batting 4th. That means the team has trust in you. And one thing that we've spoken about in other sports was at times you need that belief. You need a team to kind of give you free reign to just go out there and poop on yourself a little bit and not feel like you're looking over your shoulder. The Bucs did that with Baker Mayfield. We spoke about it yesterday that the Jets look like they're going to do that with Justin Fields. And to me, it looks like the Rays are going to give Jonathan Aranda the opportunity to do that and give him a fair share, give him a fair amount of playing time. And I think you balance out the lineup a little bit, especially losing Josh Lowe to injury. You lose a left-handed bat, so you want Aranda in there because you look at the guys that, started in the game last night. You look at the righty hitters with Yandy and Caminero and Morel, and you start Danny Jansen and Caballero. You're looking at these guys, and I know I didn't name all of them, but just look at very right-handed heavy. So to be able to get those lefties in there with Lau and Aranda helps out in a big way. So I like it. I think the Rays could not have asked for a better start. Penny, that's a good one. I don't trust a man who can't admit they pooped themselves at least once in their life. I don't know. I haven't. But it's when somebody does in your life, whether it's somebody in your adult life or usually when you're a kid. I think back to the old who was it? It was super bad. I actually saw the clip this morning with Jonah Hill and Michael Cera, and they're out there in the field, and the guy runs by, and he's like, "Yeah, you peed yourself in third grade or whatever." He's like, "Man, that was 9 years ago." And Jonah Hill just turns to him and he goes, "People don't forget." And it's the way it goes. I remember the kid in fourth grade in gym class that pooped his pants. He was just a miserable prick of a human being for the rest of. He still is. But people don't forget things like that. So there you go. This is what happens when you go off topic a little bit on the tangent, start talking about poop stuff. Real quick, I know Chris Adams-Wall is joining us. I want to give you guys the starting lines, which looks like for the Tampa Bay Lightning, we're worried about, all right, who is Nick Paul and Glendening going to be back? Vasilevsky, first goalie off the ice tonight. Gabby and everybody expects him to be the starter, so that's good. Gensel, Point, and Kucherov, line 1 against the Islanders. Hagel, Sorelli, and Paul, line 3. Gord, Bjorkstrand, and Gage Gonsalves. And then that fourth line, Gergensons, Atkinson, and Chafee. So no Glendening there. So we'll see if he's there. Cooper mentioned Cooper mentioned him and his wife are also having a baby. So probably going to miss tonight's game. So maybe you'll see Atkinson drawn. Hedman and Moser, McDonough, Chernak, Lilleberg, and Perbix with Radish rotating in. Do they go 12-6? Do they go 11-7? We do not know. And also mentioning this when we're talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning, you're seeing a lot of these college players signing now. I know Gabe Perreault just signed with the Rangers. He's going to be playing with them. Cale Makar's little brother with Colorado. It's such a unique time of year. We don't really see this too much in any of the other sports because of when, the college season ends and a lot of people just going. And we know that the draft for the NFL and the NBA happens in the off season. So that's when those teams join up. You have summer leagues and off-season training camps and things like that. But for hockey, it's completely different. You have the opportunity to see a guy like Gabe Perreault, played for BC, and Ryan Leonard, his teammate, now signing with the Washington Capitals, already hanging out with Alexander Ovechkin. Not going to the minors, skipping it, man. Skipping it. They played some college hockey. They've already played internationally in the World Juniors. Now they're playing with the big club. How exciting must that be to be playing for your college, playing with a bunch of your buds between 18 and 22, and all of a sudden, if you're Perreault, you're playing with Shesterkin and Panarin and Zibanejad and those guys, and if you're Ryan Leonard, you're playing with Alexander Ovechkin. And the word is we're still waiting on Isaac Howard. Still no word yet whether the Michigan State superstar is going to forego that year on his ELC and to play with the Tampa Bay Lightning. It always comes down to what? Comes down to money and the salary cap. And with the Bolts so close to that salary cap, they have to be very smart and they have to go through all the machinations when it comes to the financials. And if there's one general manager and there's one front office that is able to do it, I think you'd say that about all of our Tampa teams, right? You could say if the Rays need to find a way to financially make something work or to find a way to construct a roster in the right way, they'll be able to do that. Same thing with the Bucs, right? Oh, I don't think this guy can come back. Jason Light and his team will find a way. Same thing with the Tampa Bay Lightning. So close to the salary cap. Is there a way to get Isaac Howard with the Bolts? If there's one front office that can figure out a way, it's JBB, Matthew Darch, and the crew with the Bolts. All right. let's switch back to what we were talking about to start the show, and it's our Tampa Bay Rays, and we'll do that with our pal Chris out as well, Rays radio voice. What's going on, brother? It's so great to hear you back on the air, especially after a victory. There's just something right about you taking over for our guys, Andy Fried and Neil Solondz, after a Rays victory, and 3 out of 4 times already to start the season, man. How's the start of the season for you?
Well, thanks for having me, Jay. Me and my light switch here. I guess I'm reversed here in the image. Yeah, I got the fan switch and the light switch. Lights are on, though, and they were last night at Steinbrenner Field, the first night game, and the Rays probably played their most complete game of the season so far, I would say. 6-1 winners. They pitched really well. Drew Rasmussen with 5 scoreless innings, and then Hunter Biggie had his first multi-inning outing of the season, 2 more shutdown innings for him. Mason Englert made his Rays debut. He allowed the lone run of the game, but still just 1 run over 1 inning, and then Manny Rodriguez had a 1-2-3 ninth. So that was encouraging to see. But the real story was Jake Mangum last night. Again, made his big league debut 2 nights ago after taking a 3-hour Uber from Norfolk, Virginia to AAA Durham to get his stuff after he learned that he was being promoted to the big leagues for the first time. And then what does he do in just his second major league game last night? He gets his first big league hit, then he gets another one, then he gets one from the other side of the plate because he's a switch hitter, and then he gets a 4th one. So he goes 4 for 4, hits from both sides of the plate, had a couple of stolen bases, knocked in 2 runs. It was all in all an unbelievable day at Steinbrenner Field, unbelievable night, I should say, and we'll do another night game. But you're right, Jay, you hit it right on the head there. This is a really good start for the Rays. We would have loved for them to win the first 4 games, but 3 out of 4, that's the next best thing. 3-1 through the first 4, that isn't bad at all.
Did we find out how much that Uber was?
I still need to ask Jake about it. No, that is on my list of things to do. He said that the Uber driver's name was Anna and that she was an angel, and she had to have been, right, if she was going to take all that time to drive him from Virginia to North Carolina. But, I mean, the Rays are thrilled to have Jake Mangum. I think he's a great clubhouse guy in addition to a great baseball player. And it's MP3 out there in the outfield, right? Jake Mangum, Cameron Meisner, and Christopher Morel, M&M, whatever you want to call them. They all contributed last night, all had RBIs. Probably not how you thought the outfield was going to look this early in the season, but obviously the injuries to Josh Lowe and Johnny DeLuca getting the night off yesterday created an opportunity for those guys, and that is so ingrained in the Rays culture, this next man up mentality. Cameron Meisner, a walk-off home run on opening day, his first big league home run, and then last night in just the 4th game of the season, Jake Mangum gets his first 4 big league hits. It's storybook kind of stuff, and I know they're playing the Rockies and the Pirates. The competition, I think, will get a bit stiffer, and again, I don't want to disrespect those organizations because we are so early on in the season. We know that they have talent, but we know the Braves are coming in. We know that they're also 0-5. We know that the Angels are coming in, and they're 3-1 right now, and then that'll be followed up by the Red Sox, who are 1-4, and the Yankees, of course, in their torpedo bats. So it's an exciting time. They're going to Texas this weekend, though. That's always been a challenging place for the Rays to play, but 3-1, you have to feel good if you're a Rays fan this early on in the season.
Yeah, I'm starting to think of like nicknames in my head for that outfit, like check the tape, 3M, because 3M.
That's what I called them last night on the postgame show. Exactly.
3MD because of the defense out there, like
Love
DMD. 3. Yeah, we're gonna go.
MP3 I like because you got
like MP3.
M and then P for players, right? And then there's 3 of them, so you can call them MP3 out there.
Race 3, the tree. Man, we could do this. We could do the whole show on this, my brother. But yeah, and I know it's everybody always. It happens every year, right? It doesn't even matter when it happens. The same thing was when they were 13-0. Well, who are they playing? Blah blah blah. This you gotta win, and you gotta beat the teams in front of you. And I just think it's like the lamest argument in sports when people are like, yeah, well, who did they play? That could be part of the conversation, but it's not like these teams have an opportunity before the season to go, you know what? I'm going to play 6 against the Yankees. I'm going to play 25 against the last place team in the NL Central. Like, it's just not the way it goes. This isn't a la carte where you pick who you get a chance to play. So, yeah, I'm with you, man. You got to beat the teams in front of you. And it'd be one thing if the Rays weren't playing well, Chris, and then the other team was just like pooping on themselves even more, right? They're playing the best Rays teams in history are the ones that are the most complementary. They hit, they pitch, they play defense, and I think we've seen that through 4 games.
Oh, I think you're absolutely right. You can't choose your schedule, right? And the Rays have a ton of home games right out of the gate. 19 of their first 22 games will be at Steinbrenner Field, with the exception of the 3 this weekend in Arlington when they take on the Texas Rangers. And then after that, you can go further down the schedule. 37 of their first 54 games will be at home. And you're going to play everybody, right? I mean, the Major League Baseball schedule has changed over the last couple of years. So what? So you're starting off with the Rockies and the Pirates. Neil Solondz brought this up on the broadcast the other night. Those teams might not necessarily know that they aren't good enough yet. So this is, you could argue, a tougher time to get teams like that. But Texas, we know, is good. Bruce Bochy tends to win his World Series every other year. He won in 2023 with Texas. Maybe this is the year for them. And we know what he did with the San Francisco Giants, winning in all those even years. But I'm with you. Even the game the Rays lost, Jay, they out-hit the Rockies 12-6 on Saturday, and the Rockies just played stellar defensively. I think Kyle Farmer, their second baseman, said that that was the best defensive game he's ever been a part of in his career at any level. I mean, the Rockies, they made all the plays. And Taylor Walls, the Rays shortstop, was wondering aloud during the post-game show if there was another game where more runs had been saved by a defensive team over the last handful of years, because he said that was just about the most impressive defensive display that he's ever seen. You got to kind of like games like that, though, because it does show that defense, which isn't talked about nearly as much as hitting or pitching, is incredibly valuable. You can save all those runs. That's one of the reasons why Taylor Walls is as valuable as it is. And the Rays defense, I think, has gotten better over the last 3 games. Opening day, little shaky, but they've done a really nice job. And Jose Caballero is a big reason as to why that's happened, too. Not only has he gotten it done at the plate, he laid down a beautiful bunt, which scored a run on Sunday against Colorado, but he's been turning some double plays. He's going to play a little outfield, too. Last night, he was filling in at shortstop for Taylor Walls, who got a breather. So I think you really have to like where the Rays are at. And again, you can't pick your schedule, right? You only have to play who's in front of you. But the Rays should do well. That they know how many home games they have. They're going to want to bank as many of those as they can, because in the second half of the season, they are going to be on the road a lot. And we know that it's a lot more challenging to win away from Steinbrenner Field than it is at Steinbrenner Field. So far, so good, though. 3 wins out of 4 games. We'll take it.
Yeah, I mentioned this before. John Cooper always speaks about it with the Lightning, about munching points early on in the season. Don't care how they look. Just get them in the bank, because they can never take it away from you. Same thing here with the Rays. Just bank and munch as many wins as you can get. They're not going to ask you at the end of the year, well, how many are against the Rockies? How many against the Pirates? They don't care about that. Just win as many as you can. I want to ask you about that offense, Chris, because one thing that I've always, and I brought it up to anybody that would listen with the Rays, they're always on the forefront of pitching. They're always on the forefront of defense, whether it's the shift or the opener. And I always wonder, like, how come there is not an opportunity to do that offensively? And I'm not even talking about the torpedo bats, but even like different ways to bunt, or maybe putting the slash, and maybe doing some things that we see in college baseball that works a little bit more. And I know the big leagues are a different animal, but I just thought that, and I brought this up to Kevin Kiermaier. This is before you were in Tampa. I said, why don't you bunt more? He's like, it's not my thing. And I go, you batting 230, KK? And he's like, it's just not my thing, Jay. What do you want me to tell you? I'm like, okay. It was a fun conversation. But I always thought the Rays can't go out and buy a 40 home run, 120 RBI bat. You got to play small ball a little bit more. You got to hit and run. You got to put some bunts down. I feel like we're starting to see a little bit of that. Caballero is kind of the perfect example of, what do you need me to do, coach? I'll steal a bag. I'll get a bunt down. Do you kind of see, I know it's only 4 games, but do you kind of see that type of thing where, hey, maybe we do have to get a little bit more creative offensively, because we know the pitching and defense is there?
I think you're seeing it play out in real time. I think
I
Jose Caballero, I'm pretty sure he put that bunt down himself. I don't think that was a play that the Rays called, and it was a squeeze play. I believe there was a runner on third, and he just laid it down beautifully. Kevin Cash has talked about this early on in the season. And this is why, unfortunately, Brady Williams, the Rays third base coach, got some flack on Saturday because he sent a couple of runners home. They were both thrown out at the plate, but that's because the Rockies executed these defensive plays so well.
Right.
But Cash has talked about it. The Rays want to be aggressive and really push the envelope early on. And let's be honest, it's early on in the season. Maybe there's still some jitters, some nerves from the other side, and you were hoping that the Rockies would mess up one of those throws to lead to a run for the Rays. I like this mentality. I think it's good. The Pittsburgh Pirates, look at them. They came in last night having swiped 15 stolen bases out of 16 attempts in a series against the Marlins in which they lost 3 out of 4. All 3 of those losses were walk-offs. Like, think about how they're feeling, but we know that they can run. We know that the Rays can run too. Taylor Walls, Johnny DeLuca, Jose Caballero, the list goes on and on. Cameron Meisner. I mean, they have some serious athletes on this squad. I'm a little concerned about the home run production so far, but again, they're dealing with some elements that they haven't before. The wind has been pretty unpredictable and weird at Steinbrenner so far this season. Obviously, it did not affect Cameron Meisner's walk-off on Friday, but they only have Brandon Lau's 2-run home run from Sunday, and I believe those are the only 2 home runs that the Rays have hit through the first 4 games this season. So if they can get creative, like you're suggesting, and start to sow chaos in other ways, I think if any team is more capable of doing it, I'm not sure there is one other than the Tampa Bay Rays. And I love that bunt from Jose Caballero. That was out of nowhere, and that one was for the purists, right? What are they going to say now? Because they are bunting a little bit.
Yeah, I like that because I feel like I may have been in the minority. There's always in the last decade or so, well, we don't want to give away outs, and I was like, well, it's not about out prevention, it's about run production. And I feel like at times you want to stay out of the double play, you want to move runners, you want to get a guy. Hey, maybe a pitcher's throwing really well, right? And he finally walks the guy. Well, sometimes you lay down a bunt, he gets off the mound, he picks up a ball and he throws it into right field, and now run rabbit run, you have a totally different outcome, and you didn't even have a base hit. It's a walk and an error on the pitcher. Now you have runners on second and third with nobody out, and you still don't have a hit. I just think there's different ways to look at it. What have you seen from Junior Caminero so far this season? A lot of people were asking me about like the pressure. Don't want to put too much pressure on him. I go, I don't know if you can put pressure on this kid. He's playing third base. He's going to be batting in the middle of the lineup. He just played winter ball, was the best player out there. I don't know if I'm worried about pressure when it comes to Junior Caminero. What about you? Are you, I don't want to say concerned, but like, what are you keeping an eye on for him? Let's say these first like 25, 30 games of the season.
I don't think it's possible to put pressure on a guy like Junior Caminero, a guy who wants to be in the spotlight more than just about anyone else. He's La Maxima. He's got the chains. He's got the earrings. I mean, he wants to be up in those big situations, and he got an opportunity to do that on Sunday against the Rockies, coming off the bench as a pinch hitter. I think Kevin Cash said, I would have preferred a 3-run homer, but you know what? Caminero got up there with his torpedo bat. He sent a spinner up the middle, and then all of a sudden it was deflecting off gloves. The Rockies were throwing it all over the place. It was eventually, at first, a 3-error inning for the Rockies, but it eventually came down to just 1 error in that inning. But you could have made the argument that there were 3. Junior ends up with that RBI single. And look, he's not hammering the ball quite yet, but he does have, I think, 5 or 6 hits to show for his performance so far through the first 4 games this season. He's young. We know that. He's 21 years old, and maybe it'll take him a little bit to get going. Like I mentioned, the Rays have hit just 2 home runs through the first 4 games. But like you said too, Jay, you don't have to hit home runs to win ball games. The Rays proved that on Sunday. Yeah, they got the 2-run home run from Brandon Lau, but this was a 2-2 game before that pinch hit appearance by Junior Caminero, and they end up with a 4-run inning just because they're bunting, they're hitting ground balls in strange places and difficult places for the Rockies defense. So I think I agree with you. And Junior Caminero, he's going to be fine. I think the one thing for him is we need him to stay healthy, because last season he started in AAA Durham, but then he had, I think, a couple of quad injuries, if not definitely one, that ruled him out 4 to 6 weeks. He finally came back up. Wasn't his major league debut, because you'll remember he did make his big league debut in 2023, but he got kind of a limited run up here last season. But now this was his first opening day, and hopefully this will be his first full season with the Rays. But I like what I see so far. Even his defense has been a little bit better than it was on opening day. And again, maybe you can chalk those up to nerves, jitters.
Yeah.
We were all watching that game like, boy, this is strange, huh? To not be at the Trop, but this is still a home game for the Rays. So I think he's going to be just fine, and he fits in so well in the middle of that lineup.
Yeah, I think the infielders too, practicing and playing on turf for so long, playing on grass, and I know they do it in spring training, and just I think that's just another thing. I think people will say, all right, well, they play on grass in spring training. It should be the same then for that first regular season game. You add in the intensity, you add in that energy of opening day and those first couple of games, and you're jitter, right? And you're not used to that. You're not used to that those combinations, those different parts of the recipe. And I got no issues with it. I think he's a much better defender than I think initially thought. Some people, I think you brought it up to me. It was like people comparing him like Adrian Beltre, and I was like, "Whoa, Adrian Beltre, that was my guy." But I mean, you don't say that. You don't say that about somebody unless he can hit and play defense, because we know what type of defender he was. And, I don't know if he's ever going to drop down to one knee and hit home runs, but if he does, then he'll definitely, that'll be the best comp. Before I get you out here, I want to ask you about the starter for tonight's game with Shane Baz. He's got all the stuff in the world. I don't know if we've ever seen like the entire season for Shane Baz. Like, I don't know if we've ever seen kind of the guy that we know that I think he could be, right? I'm so excited to see the 2025 season for this right-hander, because I doubt many teams in baseball have a guy that they're going on their 5th day that has the stuff of this young man.
Yeah, and you add to that, Jay, the fact that he's going up against the team that originally drafted him for the first time in the big leagues, the Pittsburgh Pirates. Baz was the 12th overall pick back in 2017, and he was, of course, a part of that Tyler Glasnow deal, the Chris Archer trade that was so infamous, and he was the player to be named later in that deal. So this is a big night for Shane Baz. The starting pitching for the Rays has been extraordinary. I believe they've allowed just 3 or 4 earned runs over their first 23 innings, so that's good for a 1.56 ERA, I think. So let's go down the list, right? Ryan Pepiot, Zach Littell, Taj Bradley, Drew Rasmussen. They have all pitched terrifically. Rasmussen was the only one who did not give up an earned run, but the other guys, Pepiot just 1 earned run on opening day, Littell just 1 earned run Saturday, Taj just 2 earned runs on Sunday. So what's that? 4 earned runs over, I think, 23 innings, a 1.56 ERA, and I think they have walked just 1 batter, if you can believe that. So
money.
I imagine Shane Baz is going to go out there, and remember, this guy made his major league debut in 2021. This was the first opening day in 2025 where he was active and on the roster and was there. That is really hard to believe. He's excited, though. We talked to him yesterday in the Rays clubhouse, and I fully expect Shane Baz to go out there, do his thing, hopefully 5-6 innings of 1 or 2 run ball, and then hopefully the Rays offense comes through and they score runs in bunches like they did yesterday. They batted around for the 2nd consecutive game yesterday, and I think Shane Baz is going to have a great performance. He's going up against someone named Tom Harrington tonight, who is the Pirates' number 3 prospect and is making his big league debut this evening. So no pressure on him, but it should be a nice battle of one top prospect for the Pirates against one former top prospect for the Pirates.
Thomas Harrington. It's so funny because out of Campbell University, it's funny because when you look up Tom Harrington, I was looking at this morning. The first thing that comes up is a Canadian radio and TV journalist and an Australian rules football.
I mean, if you say Thomas Harrington, I immediately think, oh, that sounds like the 19th president of the United States or something like that. Like you could buy into that. But yeah, he is. He's a fighting camel. Played for Campbell University down there with where Ryan Thompson went there, right? The former Rays reliever. Exciting moment for him too, right? But hopefully Shane Baz will come out on top. I just want to say I've been getting a ton of calls on the postgame show about the experience at Steinbrenner Field. People really seem to be enjoying themselves. So come on down, come see us, and hopefully the Rays will be 4-1 after tonight.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm going through some stuff here at the house, and I'll definitely be there next week when the guys return home. So I can't wait to see you. And I'm praying that Shane Baz outpitches Sir Thomas Harrington IV, because I feel like that's his name. Sir Thomas Harrington IV. All right, real quick before I let you go, who hits a home run tonight? Because we talked about it too much. Is tonight the junior night? Is Junior Caminero home run night?
I'm going to go with Danny Jansen tonight.
Okay,
I think Danny Jansen is due. He had a really good spring training. I saw him hit a home run in a 2-inning game against the Twins that did not count, but he homered in his first at bat of spring training. Some of you might remember against the Boston Red Sox, his former team. So I like Danny Jansen tonight. We'll see if he's in the lineup though, right? Because Harrington's in there. Danny caught last night, so maybe you're going to see Ben Rortvedt. I'll go with Ben if Danny's not in there. And I'll also say, yeah, let's go Junior Caminero. This is his night. Let's get him his first home run of the season, too.
Caminero and Catcher. Catcher and Caminero hitting home runs tonight. When that happens, you tag us on social media at Chris Adams Wall, at Jay Recher. Chris, always great catching up. I'll see you next weekend at the park, my friend. Be well.
You too, man. Thanks.
Thanks, buddy. God, what a great addition to the Rays radio crew, Chris Adams Wall. Just a really, really good dude. Yeah, there you go, man. If you want to put any cheddar on it, tonight, Junior Caminero. Junior Caminero and Danny Jansen or Ben Rortvedt. There you go. That's what we're picking for the win. Look at this. How UT. Look at what UT baseball just put out. This is hilarious. Did you guys see this? Breaking news. The University of Tampa and the Tampa Bay Rays have agreed to deal to build a downtown stadium for the two teams to share. Further details coming soon. And look at that's so great. Look at the graphic on there on the left side. It's so awesome. On the left side, it says April Fools, and on the right, it says Happy April, and the other say it says Fool's Day. That looks great, though. Joe Urso Field. That's hilarious. That is a good April Fool's Day joke. I saw something else somebody said today. It was like, oh, Steven Stamkos wants to come back to the Lightning, according to Elliot Friedman. I was like, God damn it. Then I have to see, for things like that initially today, you're thinking, okay, not true, not going to happen, right? But you got to check it out. So here I am going back to Elliot Friedman's podcast, 32 Thoughts, and I'm skimming through the entire 1 hour, 40 minutes, like, is there a Lightning mention there? Is a Stamkos mention there? And it's like, it's April Fools. But you have to do your due diligence, right? Jacksonville University transfer guard Eden Battle announced her transfer from Jacksonville to USF. The 5'7" standout averaged 20.8 points and 2.8 assists per game and holds many records for Jacksonville University. All a Sun for her first 2 seasons after transferring from Miami of Ohio. What a get for Coach Jose Fernandez. Good stuff there, and shout out to my good pal Nathan Bond and the folks over there at Bay Area Examiner. Man, good stuff. Yeah, I mean, I hate breaking news on a day like this. Because you have to go check, and this is where you really have to go, and is this true? You check your 3 sources and blah 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 blah. Just annoying. It's annoying, but it has to be done. Yeah, go follow our guy Chris Adams Wall, Rays Radio, doing such a great job with the programs over there. Back in action tonight. Go get your information, raysbaseball.com. I'm going to make sure we got of course, everything's gonna. There we go. All right, 7:05 first pitch today. We mentioned it. Sir Thomas Harrington IV for the Pittsburgh Pirates against Shane Boz. And we remember not the interview, but the injury from last year. Well, we did interview him. Boz got hurt, in the weight room? And listen, it was on him and it was on the Rays that they allowed him to get interviewed by Zach and I. And we had to bring it up. And he was just pissed. He was like, no comment on that. That had to be so frustrating. And you heard Chris say it. This dude made his major league debut in 2021, and this is the first time in 2025 that he's ever been on the major league roster for opening day. 7-5 last year, 4-3 last year with a 3.06 ERA and 14 starts, a WHIP of 1.06. This is a guy that, again, doesn't walk many hitters. In 2022, he had 6 starts and only 9 walks last year, and those 14 starts, 27 walks. You keep them to 2 or less. I like that. Keep that whip down. Make them put the ball in play. Let your defense go to work. We see how well that has worked for a guy like Drew Rasmussen over there. Hopefully, a guy like Shane Boss can do the same thing. Look at John Momola. Do you think the Rays will put out an April Fool's breaking news tweet about the stadium deal? Well, we do know that yesterday was the final day for the Rays to show their work, to show that, hey, we got the money. We're ready for a stadium deal to go forward. And we know that's not happening. I want to say no. I want to say no, the Rays would never do that. The Rays wouldn't send out a... I don't know. The Rays could send out a tweet like, oh, yeah, everything's all good. And then Stu puts his name on it. Oh, my God. That would be so tone deaf. I laugh because it's a lot easier to do that than cry. But the celebrated agreement to build a $1.3 billion stadium for the Tampa Bay Rays expired at midnight. So now, I mean, the Rays can look elsewhere after the deal is done in 2028. Remember, it was originally 2027. So there we go. This is from Colleen Wright. Councilmember Richie Floyd asked Thursday for a discussion to sunset the redevelopment areas so property taxes raised there could instead go toward the city's general fund, which pays for police, fire, rescue, and parks. So now they're already talking about where are they going to spend that money. Not for a stadium in downtown St. Pete. They're looking elsewhere. And I'm not surprised. Not surprised by this. And unfortunately, that is no joke. That is the reality of this entire situation. I was having a discussion last night with a couple of people about the Rays Stadium, and we actually spoke about it with Mac Joyce on the show yesterday. He, along with a lot of other people out there, are bringing back the notion once again that the best place for the stadium to be is in Tampa. And I've had discussions with a lot of people. What was I talking to? It was somebody else the other day, a lifetime. I speak to guys that have been here 40, 50, 60 years in the Tampa Bay area. And one of the things I bring up to them, I say, hey, you grew up playing ball here. You grew up in the Tampa Bay area. You're a diehard baseball fan. And some of my friends, and we'll just talk about a couple of people in particular that are in, let's say, their 50s. So I say, you grew up here. You played Little League here. You played high school ball here. You went on to go play pro ball. If I would have told you as a teenager, as a 20-year-old kid, before the Rays were even here, that there'd be a Major League Baseball team here and you wouldn't have season tickets, what would you say? And every single guy to a man says to me, you're crazy. I'd be there all the time. I'd be the biggest fan. And I speak to these guys that grew up with the Tino Marchand. I'm not talking about Tino and Fred in particular, but guys that grew up with Tino and grew up with Fred and grew up with Luis and all these guys in the Tampa Bay area. And they're like, those are the last people in the world you want to go, Those are the guys that need to shout from the heavens, to shout from the mountaintops that I can't wait to go to a Rays game. The event, the extravaganza, every single time I walk through the turnstiles is well worth my money, and I can't wait to go back. Matt Joyce said yesterday on the program, you can't just treat this like you're building a baseball stadium. You need to build an event center, an experience. You need to build it so when people go there, they don't even have to be a baseball fan. They don't even have to be a sports fan to walk in there and have a good time. You can't possibly tell me that 18,000 people every single night that walk through the door at Amalie Arena know exactly everything there is to know about hockey. That they know what the blue lines and the red lines are, and they know the difference between offsides and icing. They don't know the difference. But what they do know is that when they walk through those doors at 401 Channel Side, that from Greg Wolf to Sonia Bryson to Nikita Kucherov and Andrei Vasilevsky to the patrons to the Amalie Arena security guards, when you walk in and walk out, it is going to be an incredible experience. That's what the Rays need to replicate. That's the duplication that they're looking for. I don't care where it is, whether it's a St. Pete side or if it's a Tampa side. You build that experience on the St. Pete side. While I do think it would do better on the Tampa side, I think it could work on the St. Pete side if you do it right. It can't just be a ho-hum baseball. That's it. I do not think that the Rays are going to look for other cities. I don't think they're going to look to relocate, because for what Rob Manfred says, he wants to stay in this TV market. Those numbers that we have are a saving grace. Those TV numbers are a saving grace. So watching the TV, going to the games and the attendance at Steinbrenner Field, like, everything is going to help. But it would have been very easy for 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 years ago for Rob Manfred or whoever the commissioner was to be able to say, nah, it's not going to work here because of the attendance. They're not looking at those numbers. They're not harping on that. They're looking at those TV numbers going, if the fan base is there, what do we got to do to get it here? What do we got to do? What do we got to do to get those people to come to the game? And even though there has been improvements when it comes to Tropicana Field and success on the field from the team, we can't just sit here and shout and shake our fist at the cloud and be like, well, we do this. It's not about what you do here. It's about what you're not doing here. So hopefully that next owner that sells to Stu, that he understands that it's got to be an experience. It can't be a game. Got to be more than that. So whether Stu's talking to other markets or not, that's fine. He can do whatever the hell he wants. I know for a fact who he's talking to here in the Tampa Bay area, because I spoke with the guys. So we'll see. He wants to get paid. That's no doubt. Nobody wants to deal with Stu, but part of the reason why we can't get the people that I've talked to on the air is because they don't want to lose some of their leverage, and I get it. I understand that wholeheartedly, because if there's one person that's going to be able to hold it against you, it's the guy that's selling you the franchise. But I want to talk about these bats, and shout out to my guy, Coach Arnell. What's going on with these bats? Definitely need a tutorial on what is going on. So what the Yankees have done, a former coach of theirs, MIT physicist, he's taken just a normal, I don't have a baseball bat in here, but he's taken a normal bat and taken what has gone on at the end of the bat, where if you hit the ball at the end of the bat, that ain't working anyway. And he's moved some of that weight towards the sweet spot of the bat. And what we've seen so far is we've seen some incredible displays of power from the Yankees that have used this bat. Now, does Aaron Judge use this bat? No. Does every guy in the team use the bat? No. Are there other players in Major League Baseball, including Junior Caminero or Francisco Lindor, that use these bats and have tried these bats before? Yes. So any of these lame-ass arguments from people all across the country that here the Yankees are cheating again, like, do your homework. Do your homework, know your role, and shut your mouth. And we're seeing pitchers bitch and moan already. We're seeing the lefty Strom from the Phillies complaining about it. We're seeing Trevor McGill from the Brewers complain about it. Hey, Trevor, why don't you go ask your little brother Tyler, who's on the Mets, about his shortstop, Francisco Lindor, that uses the same bat, you hypocrite. All of the rules in baseball favor the pitchers. You can come up with these new pitches, right? You got guys that are advancing and throwing harder and harder in 96 and 97. You got guys that are throwing over 100 miles an hour. This is a perfectly legal thing that any team can do. Yet there's people that are thinking, oh, well, they're either – the first thing, the reason why it's as big of a story as it is because the Yankees are the team that are behind it. Because what you see, whether it's in here in Tampa or anywhere around the country, the optics around anything New York Yankees clouds people's judgments easily. You see the worst of baseball fans when it comes to talking about the Yankees. You could talk smack about the team, the players, the coaches, the fans, what have you. But for some reason, that's when people allow themselves to get into the mud and they say whatever the hell they want. Well, the Yankees do it too. I'm like, all right, well, it doesn't make you any better. It doesn't mean that you're right either. The Yankees, Jazz Chisholm being one of those guys, using this bat, anybody in the league can use it. Victus is the bat company that is making these bats. Don't think that Louisville Slugger and the rest of these companies don't have people working around the clock as we speak, finding their own version of the torpedo bat. I like it. You're talking about a sport where it is okay to fail 7 out of 10 times when you're at the plate. You do that, you're a Hall of Famer. You have to mentally prepare yourself for that type of failure, or you're not going to be able to play in the game. But where has been the advances when it comes to the materials or any type of product that is going to make things better for the hitters in Major League Baseball. Pine tar is not it. Everything is aesthetics. It's the big elbow guard, or it's the fighting necklaces, or the Oakleys, or the shin guard, so you don't foul a ball off of you. Who other than HGH, other than greenies, other than this stuff that guys have gotten banned for that weren't illegal and then became illegal or have always been against the rules, what have we seen to make offense more prevalent in Major League Baseball outside of what we saw in the late 90s when chicks dig the long ball? Remember that slogan? Remember when Greg Maddux and Tom Glavine were up there doing commercials? Two of the best pitchers, two Hall of Fame pitchers for the Braves, and they're doing commercials about hitting jacks. Baseball lost a ton of fans because of the strike in 1994. We were headed towards the Montreal Expos and the New York Yankees probably in the World Series that year. Who knows? Maybe that would have saved baseball in Montreal. Maybe Don Mattingly wins a elusive championship with the Yankees 2 years before Derek Jeter makes his debut for the team. Maybe another team comes in. Maybe a team like Toronto or Atlanta or any of these other teams. Maybe they come in and have some success. But a lot of people were turned off in 1994 because of the strike. What was baseball going to do to get fans, to put butts back in the seats? They turned a blind eye to what was going on in the late 90s with Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa and a lot of these other hitters because they wanted fans back. But if you were alive during that time, if you remember the late 90s, what was the leading story on SportsCenter every night before we got into so many of these stupid ass back and forth argumentative mind-numbing talk shows on ESPN where everything was the same conversation every single day? Who's the quarterback going to be for the Cowboys? Who are the Lakers going to sign? Who's going to do this? What's going to do that? It was highlights of actually what was going on in the major leagues. In 1998, that home run chase was, even if you weren't in Chicago or St. Louis, must-watch television every single night, even if you weren't a baseball fan. Sammy Sosa hit 66 home runs that year. Mark McGwire hit 70. Every single night, you wanted to know whether Sammy went deep in Chi-Town or if Big Mac hit yet another home run there in St. Louis. That's how they got fans. That's how they got butts back in the seats. This is an opportunity right now to get more interest into the game. You're trying to make the game better. You're trying to get it more attractive for people. You're speeding up the game. You're telling relief pitchers that they got to pitch to 3 guys instead of 1. This is an opportunity well within the rules for an offensive player to have a better tool to do his job, to perfect his craft. It'd be nice to see guys hitting over 300. And we're not going to blow the statistics out of the water. You're not going to see guys batting 450. You're not going to see guys hitting 90 home runs a season. Let's be realistic. This is a great thing for baseball. I want as many torpedo bats in as many players' hands as humanly possible. I want to see guys hitting the ball harder. I want to see guys not getting jammed. I want to see guys not breaking bats because they're hitting the ball at the end of the bat. I want to see more activity on the base paths. That is what's going to draw more interest. It has to be a more entertaining product. If you watch a college baseball game versus a pro baseball game, it is not even close to being the same thing. In college, there's so much. The ball's put in play more. There's bunting. There's stealing. You look at the game, these 3 games last weekend for USF and Tulane. You got guys bunting, slashing. It's amazing. It's so much fun to watch. The reason why it's not as popular, obviously, is because you don't know the guys. And after these college players play, they usually go into the minor league system and you don't see them for 2 or 3 years. It's not like you see a guy at the college level and you go, that guy's going to be playing with the Rays next year. I'm so excited. Like we see in football, like we see with basketball. But in baseball and hockey, we know it's not the same. Those Gabe Perreaults and Isaac Howards, those are so few and far between. But this is a great thing for baseball if they embrace it. Embrace it. Make it available for every hitter out there, for every team. And I'm sure they are. Again, it's well within their rights. It's well within the rules. The diameter of their bat is not exceeding any of the limitations or any of the specifications that they put out there. So for these pitchers bitching and moaning about everything, like, just get real. You go out there, you pitch to 3 guys, and these 2 guys, you could pitch to just a handful of guys a night. You go sit on your happy ass for the next 48 hours. I have no sympathy for people like that. Sorry. There are so many rules that lean towards pitching in baseball, just like we see in football. So many rules lean towards the offense. Oh, wow, look at that. Rules leading towards the offense. The most popular game in this country, in the National Football League. Oh, wow, what a novel idea. Major League Baseball needs to look at this situation as they are trying to grow the game, as they are trying to make the game more palatable to diehard fans and casuals across the world. Forget about just the country. And look at this freaking bat right here and highlight it and talk about it and promote the hell out of this damn thing. Make fun of it. We see so many of these memes. I've gotten a ton of them. I know you've all seen them on social media where it looks like Aaron Judge is having a sledgehammer in his hand, or Aaron Judge has like a glove that's huge, right? This freaking big. I like that. Have fun with it. Let's see clips on Saturday Night Live, right? We'll see everything. More attention to it, the better. The bigs, baseball in general, needs more personality. It needs more intricate storylines. It needs more things to get people talking. We've looked at all of these different things this year already, whether it's the Kendrick Lamar halftime show, how you want to say divisive, how polarizing it was, right? But it got people talking. It keeps football in the conversation at the water coolers with your friends, family, what have you. We look at the Stephen A. Smith LeBron situation, and we're going to get to that maybe a little bit more this week because I find it fascinating how many people have an opinion about this and spend time on their podcasts and on their shows that they get paid millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars giving their 2 cents on this situation. But what does it do? It gets people invested into basketball. It gets people wondering what LeBron's going to do. It gets people turning on their TVs in the morning. What does Stephen A. have to say about, when the Lakers lost right after LeBron had that tip in at the end of the game to win? I think it was the next night, or at least the very next game. They played Chicago in Chicago, and Josh Giddey made that shot from half court to beat the Lakers. I know for a fact that people were tuned in the very next morning to First Take to hear what Stephen A. Smith had to say about that game. Because whether he wants to admit it or not, he's going to be the number one LeBron hater as long as he has the ability to speak in front of a microphone. And notice how I didn't say during LeBron's career. For as long as Stephen A. Smith is behind a microphone, he is going to be the number one LeBron hater, whether he thinks it's fair or not. But it gets people to tune in. It gets people to tune in to him, to talk about the sport. It stays in the lexicon. It stays in the atmosphere. My guy, Dev, appreciate you, buddy. Shout out to you and your family. The growing Garnets. I love that. But for baseball, look at something like this. Stay in the conversation. Don't let it dissipate. Continue to highlight Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani and everything that's going on with baseball. And does it seem cheap? Does it seem like it's low-hanging fruit if you're talking about certain things that aren't necessarily on the playing field? That's the world we live in. The world we live in now is the storylines that go deeper and take that next step that's about depth. It's not just about what you could read in the box score. It's not just about the SportsCenter highlights. It's about the storylines. It's about having an opinion on such. It's part of the reason why you have a podcast like this, why radio shows, sports radio shows are in existence. It's to take the conversation to the next layer. Baseball doesn't have enough of that. This is an opportunity to take it to the next level. I think that they should be able to paint their bats. I think that there needs to be a little bit less uniformity when it comes to baseball. I think this would be a great opportunity to do so. I know for Players Weekend, guys can paint their bats and, make it look like a number 2 pencil or make it look for. I think that the MLB needs to look into these torpedo bats. I think they need to highlight them, make them available for all the players. Maybe you don't see it as much in season, but after the season, we know that these glove companies, these bat companies, these cleat companies, they all go out and, they have these days where the players can check out these, this equipment. Does it work for them? I love it. I love it. Keep it going, man. Keep this thing going. Keep talking about it. Keep asking about it. Baseball needs these type of stories. It is crucial. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. Subscribe on YouTube as well. Make sure you hit that notifications bell as well. The NFL meetings going on right now there. And, man, how great is it to be able to see Todd Bowles speak? And, he has the opportunity to be able to get this information out there, and you hear it right from him, right from the mouth of the leading man. And I love that we've seen a different side of Todd Bowles and bringing in some help. Todd Bowles bringing in a guy that is going to assist him in football research. Zach Beastline, I think, is such a smart thing for him to be able to realize that he doesn't have it all figured out. He doesn't have every answer to every question, and that's fine. It takes a strong man to realize that, especially a veteran head coach in Todd Bowles. And for all the people that still look at Todd Bowles as a guy that is not a good enough coach, or he's a throwback coach, and I hate his stoicism on the sideline, I don't like his demeanor, that means absolutely nothing to me. I don't care what the coach is doing on the sidelines. You can't laud John Cooper and Kevin Casher being even keel, not getting too high, not getting too low. I mean, Victor Hemmond just said that last week in the Lightning locker room. Part of the reason why we're so good is because John Cooper doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. What do you think Todd Bowles does? It's the same thing for the Buccaneers. This team went on 2 different losing streaks the last 2 seasons in the middle of the year. No bitching, no moaning, no murmurs of guys jumping ship. None of that. They stayed steadfast. They stuck with the plan. They were able to get out of there and make the playoffs 2 seasons in a row by winning the division. That doesn't happen if you don't trust your leader. The Buccaneers trust a guy like Todd Bowles. To be able to bring a guy like that in, I think, is huge. Huge for the team and huge for just Todd himself. I want to play a couple of videos for you here. This is from our friends over at Pewter Report. This is Todd Bowles speaking about Josh Grizzard, the Buccaneers offensive coordinator today. Look at the suit jacket. I see you, Todd. I see you, Todd. And we're going to play this for you real quick. Again, courtesy of our friends over at Pewter Report.
A lot of call periods in practice. We have a lot of situational things. We want to put him in every position possible before he actually has to call it in a game. So before the preseason starts, he'll see so many different situations and so many type of things in call periods that I'll make them go in situations to help the defense as well to say, oh, I should have did this or I should have did that. And we come back to those situations. But you got to help coach the coaches and bring them along. We've done a good job at that the past few years, bringing those guys along. So Josh will be no different.
For the first time, do you feel like there's continuity in the system, at least that's going to you'll be able to kind of pick up from sort of where you left off?
It's continuity in the system, but the signal call is different. So you got to develop more continuity, how you practice and how you play it, and then you have to tweak some things because if you do exactly what you did last year, everybody watches tape, they're going to catch up. So it'll be interesting to see the wrinkles he puts in and how we adjust and how the coaches interact and practice. That'll be a whole new thing with Liam going, but when you have another guy running the entire thing, even though everyone else is the same, it's different. So the continuity is going to be big for them to build throughout the spring.
So one thing that I was able to glean from last year's team, and there was a really great day at the end of training camp last year. No, it was after the fans, had their time. It was one of the final practices of training camp. And I was sitting there, the near side of the end zone with Scott Reynolds of Pewter Report. We sat there for like an hour, And we were talking about Dave Canales to Liam Cohen and their relationship with Todd Bowles. And we were just noticing the effect of having Todd Bowles and Liam Cohen in constant communication. And even though the Buccaneers didn't play a regular season game, it just seemed like it was going to be more productive than the year before. It just seemed like the communication was paramount between those two guys. And it wasn't that Todd Bowles was in a situation where he was looking over Liam Cohen's shoulder. What are you doing over there? You're calling a run? You're calling a pass? Blah, blah, blah. It was more of, hey, what are you doing? Keep me abreast of what your thought process is here. And I'm here if you need to bounce an idea off. And I love that. And I think it's going to be even more this year with Grizzard and Liam Cohen, or excuse me, with Grizzard instead of Liam Cohen, with Todd Bowles and his experience of going from Dave Canales to Liam Cohen to Grizzard. I think you have the right guy there with Todd Bowles to experience this. I mean, it says, first off, it says something that these offensive coordinators get head coaching gigs working with the Buccaneers. But there's also got to be a trust level with Todd Bowles with another first-year play caller. He's done it already 2 times before. And I know people always want to look at Todd and find all these different things that he doesn't do well. But I think you got to look at this too and not forget that Todd has earned the benefit of the doubt in this situation. So let's be mindful of that going forward, and to make sure Todd gets that from a lot of Bucs fans out there where, a lot of times people want to denigrate Todd and they want to say he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that, he doesn't do this. Well, it's, if you want to be fair, if you want to keep it 100, as the kids say, you got to give him his credit where credit is due for the things that he does well. The great Rick Stroud from the Tampa Bay Times just made a big announcement today and last night as well that he's going to be co-hosting a new show here in Tampa, ESPN Radio, some competition for WDAE. I can't wait for that. We did mention that on the Beckles and Recher podcast a couple of weeks ago. Ian Beckles mentioned that. So competition is always a good thing. So we'll see how that whole thing shakes out. But Rick posted this last night. This is Jason Light speaking about the signing of Hassan Reddick and whether or not this will prevent the team from drafting an edge rusher.
I don't know if it changes the mindset there. We've got a few players, a handful of players like we do every year that we think could be there at 19, including edge rushers. And I think we're going to stick to what's the best player. And, if it happens to be an edge rusher, it's an edge rusher.
So when you look at Jason Light, he's been taking the best player available the last couple of years. And, sometimes it fits into the position of need, right? Whether it's a Kalijah or a Graham Barton. You're obviously not like taking a quarterback in that situation. So that's why when people always say like, oh, it's best player available no matter what. Well, what if quarterback fell? What if Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders fell? Are they drafting a quarterback in that situation? He's the best prospect on the board? Like, not necessarily. So as much as it is best player available for the most part, I think there's also caveats in there as well. Would I hate an edge rusher there? No, not at all. The more and more I think about the situation, I really think if Will Johnson is there, the corner out of Michigan, I just think that makes a lot of sense. I really think it makes a lot of sense. I would love to see them go out and get a guy that they can play across from. Get a guy that they can play, next to Zion McCollum, across from Jamel Dean. Because you need guys in that spot. You're not deep in that position. I know Todd Bowles mentioned this yesterday. I wanted to kind of find it if I could. Can't really find it right now, but I'll get to it. You need help at that corner position. Yes, you need help at the inside linebacker position too. I understand that. But that corner position with Jamel Dean, with Zion McCollum, you saw when those guys got banged up. All right, here it is. I got it right here. Boom, boom, boom. This is from, again, our friends at Pewter Report. Shout out to Scott Reynolds. Make sure you check those guys out, especially now, this time of year. Pull it up for you guys. All right, there you go.
Todd, how do you feel about the overall depth at corner going into this season with some of the signings that were made?
We don't have a lot of depth. I mean, that's crystal clear. We don't have a lot of depth. We hope to address that at some point in the draft as well, obviously. And we signed many in free agency. We signed Bendor. We signed back Bryce. He's coming off an injury. We got to see what Bendor can do, obviously. But we got to address that in the draft.
Good question there from Matty Matera from Pewter Report. He's right. And I love the transparency. Love the transparency from Todd right there. They are shallow at that position. You need more guys. And especially, when you look at that position where it seems like guys get banged up every year, is that a Buccaneers thing? Is that just a positional thing? Because whether it's a Carlton Davis or Jamel Dean or even Zion getting banged up a little bit last year, it's just kind of the nature of the beast of that position. It's got to be better. And you need to throw numbers. That's another position. Got to throw numbers at it. Linebacker is another spot. If Jahad Campbell's there at 19, I wouldn't hate that. But if there's somehow, some way, if Johnson is there, right to it. That's what I want right there. I think he'll go before 19. And again, I am not averse to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers trading back. If there's a guy that knows the positives of what trading back can do, and not just trading back for the sake of trading back, but trading back to get other positions, right? Maybe you trade back to get a guy, and that's I've seen people have this conversation. Why would you trade back, right, in round one to trade up in other rounds? Well, it's all about value, right? Just because you trade, like, you're not going to draft a guy that you know is a third round pick in the first round just because you like him. But let's say you trade back in the first round and you get an extra third rounder. But in the second round, there's a guy that you wouldn't have taken him in the first round, but you like him in the second round. And you can trade that third rounder that you just got to slide up a pick or two to make sure that he fits your spot. Now you're looking at, let's say, a corner and a linebacker. That makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense to me. So throwing numbers at the edge rush position, love it. Throwing numbers at the cornerback position, I love that too. Is it an Ezraku? Is it a James Pierce? Maybe. I would love to see them get a corner, whether it's in the first, second, or third round. There's a lot of guys in that 6'1", 6'2", 6'3" type mold that Todd Bowles likes. I just hope that they get a guy that's big, but also has a little bit of a ball hawk mentality. They need guys that are going to be able to turn the football over. That's one thing that's really been missing when it comes to the Buccaneers. One thing that has really been missing in this Todd Bowles defense the last couple seasons is guys that can pick off the football. And when you can do that, my God, you're looking at a completely different defense. Now, if the pass rush improves, does that help? No doubt about it. Because if these quarterbacks have all day to pass, they're going to be able to make said throws. And that's why everything if you bring Hassan Reddick into the fold and Yaya Diaby can take that next step, we'll see what happens to Chris Braswell. Maybe you add another rookie, a first, second, or third round pick in there. And quarterbacks have less time to throw. I truly believe that Todd Bowles is going to adjust that defense so that it's not to the point of, I got to have my corners play so far off the ball because they have to defend for a longer time. If his guys can get after the quarterback, and I'm just talking about with four guys, because we know Todd's crazy-ass blitz schemes, and we love it, But if he can get a defense where they can get home with four, and then he can get creative anywhere else, and he can have his corners playing a little bit more press, and he can have those guys being a little bit more aggressive, so he's not just giving up all these underneath throws. You're looking at a defense that can really make some headway and starting that trek towards, a top 10 defense in the league. And I want to shout out the great Lady Evil. What a great move to get Todd a game manager. Yeah. But there's also that, that understanding. There's that maturity for Todd going, I can't do this all on my own. And that's something that worried me about Todd Bowles when he was with the Jets coming here to the Buccaneers. And that's something I know a lot of people out there, he's stubborn. He's not going to get rid of some of his guys. Well, I think we've seen a lot more openness and a lot more, versatility and flexibility when it comes to Todd Bowles. He understands that he's got to keep an open mind. And if you are a guy that has a great foundation, and it doesn't mean that openness and flexibility means that he's not being true to himself, that he's being disingenuous, that he's forgetting about his core values and fundamentals that gave him the opportunity to be a head coach in the NFL. No, you got to be able to adapt or die. We see that in all sports. You have that level, that foundation, those basics that, are your DNA, right? What makes you you. It's what courses through your veins. It's what makes people respect you and has given you the opportunity to be in this spot right now. But if you're stuck and you never change, you get into a situation like we saw with Bill Belichick with the Patriots, the greatest coach in the history of the NFL. If you want to say Don Shula, fine, but he's no worse than 2, right? Even that guy had trouble changing his ways. And look what happened. His quarterback left him. He wanted no piece of that anymore. He got kind of like, all right, you're done. Nobody wanted you the next year. And now you're coaching North Carolina. I think his role has changed. I think he's changed. But he had to get, he had to have people in New England, right? It just, all right, we're done with that. We need a change. You don't want that. You don't want to be in that position. I'm sure Todd Bowles sees that. So good for him. I love that. And I'm excited to see what the future holds with him there with Tampa Bay. NFL owners, and here's some of the non-Bucks stuff there. The tush push has been tabled by NFL owners for more discussion. The Packers authored it. We know the NFL bylaws require a minimum of 24 votes to approve a change. Topic likely to be revisited when the owners gather for their spring meetings in May in Minnesota. Again, I find this so fascinating that these teams are so adamant to ban this play. It's so hypocritical to me. The reason why people are trying to ban it is not because it is a health risk. It's because you can't stop it. You can't stop the tush push. That's why you want to get rid of it. We always look at the NFL as like they care about the players. They don't care about the players' health. Ian brings that up all the time. We speak about that almost every time he joins me on Monday at 12:30. But there's also these mindsets, these perspectives of the teams as well, where at the end of the day, they're just trying to win. That's how they keep their jobs. That's how they keep these cushy $1 million jobs. You heard Matt Joyce on the program yesterday. I want you guys to go back after the show and listen to what he had to say about when an athlete is done with his career, what happens? It's a sobering reality. Getting paid millions of dollars, everybody loves you, and all of a sudden it stops. That's it. The gravy train is over. You don't get introduced anymore. You're not playing under the bright lights. It's a different ballgame. People know that, and people want to do whatever it takes to stay in the game for as long as humanly possible. No truer than in the National Football League, where the NFL stands for what? Not for long. These people don't necessarily care about the health of the players. Are you kidding me? You're telling me that if the Green Bay Packers were able to utilize the tush push with Jordan Love and all those guys in the backfield, they had an offensive line that was as good as the Philadelphia Eagles. You think they honestly would have proposed this? Not a chance. You're talking about a league that is trying to go to 18 games, that is eventually going to go to 20 games. Does the NFL and these teams, do they really care about the players' health? No. No way. You want to talk about being disingenuous? Look at that right there. Come on. Now you want to ban the tush push because you care about the health of the players? Because what could happen? Oh my gosh. Spare me the altruistic, noble gestures from these clairvoyant owners, general managers, and coaches. Get real. If you could stop it, you wouldn't be talking about it. If you could do it, you wouldn't be voting against it. You're telling me that you are more concerned with the tush push because of its health risks rather than your players playing more games. Come on. I feel like we're having a similar conversation that we do when we're talking about Stu Sternberg and his comments about the stadium. Like, come on, people. Come on. Really? Really? No way. I don't want to hear this. I hope they don't ban it, because if you want to adapt it, you want to say, hey, the defense can now do this because of the offense. I'm okay with that. If you want to modify it a little bit, maybe. I mean, how do you modify it? It's the tush push. They're allowed to push the guy. If you want to do something to help out the defense in that situation, fine. But to ban it altogether, get the fuck out of here. There you go, Dolan. That's for you, buddy. No freaking way. Another rule change. It looks like both teams are going to be able to touch the football now in overtime. I like that. And this is from was Adam Schefter. Just NFL, ESPN as a whole. Everybody. NFL owners approved a variety of rule changes Tuesday, including a modification of the dynamic kickoff that'll place the ball after touchbacks at the 35. And also regular season overtime to mirror postseason rules. I like to push it to the 35-yard line because, I want more people returning kicks. Both teams now able to possess the ball in overtime in the regular season, even if a team scores an offensive touchdown on its first possession after the proposal submitted by the Eagles was passed by owners on Tuesday. The original proposal was for a 15-minute OT period that was amended to 10. Okay. All right. I like that. Other proposals passed by owners, a resolution from the Steelers to allow some direct contact between pending free agents and teams that are pursuing them during the 3-day negotiating window that precedes the league opening of the league year. Okay. A change submitted by multiple teams that would allow preparing K-balls that are used for kicking before game day, as teams are allowed to do with the balls that are used on other plays. Okay. And proposals by the competition committee allowing 2 players to be designated to return from injured reserve if they're placed on IR when rosters are reduced to 53, granting playoff teams 2 more returns from IR spots in the postseason, and using point differential as the third tiebreaker on waiver claims. Okay, that's cool. I don't have an issue with that. I like that there's an ability for both teams to get their hands on the football in overtime. And we go back, I said it yesterday, go back to last year when the Buccaneers played their ass off against the Kansas City Chiefs. And unfortunately, and I remember I was watching this game in the airport, what an incredible show of resilience and fight and strength. I thought it was really one of the most impressive games from the Buccaneers last year. And yes, it's a loss, but this is another reason why I am one of those people that believes in silver linings, and I believe in, taking the value out of a loss depending on where you are as a team and where you are as an organization or as a program. I can totally understand a guy like Alex Golish not having silver linings in losses because you're trying to set the expectations of your club, of your program as a whole. We shouldn't just be okay with playing Alabama well for 2 quarters. We should set our standards and our goals high enough that we should be expecting to beat Alabama. All about that. I get it. But that's where they are. That was year 1 or year 2. What was it? We were talking about the home game. So it was year 1. That was year 1 under Alex Golish. We weren't even talking about last year. So his expectations are a little bit different. He is trying to change the mindset there at South Florida. It's not the same when you're talking about the Buccaneers going into Kansas City against the Chiefs. No Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin. That's I think it was nationally televised game. How many people honestly thought that the Buccaneers were going to win that game? Now, you always have to have the belief that you're going to win. And on any given Sunday, right? They wouldn't make the movie if it wasn't true. I get that. But in a game like that, and you see how this team fought their asses off, and they go to overtime just to not even get a chance for an offensive snap. It was freaking heartbreaking because those guys left it all on the field. But I'm not going to sit here and let anybody tell me that there was no silver lining in that game, that there was no good. There was no moral victory in that game. We're so scared to admit when there are moral victories. It doesn't mean you're complacent. It doesn't mean that you're not happy with losing. You can still be pissed off and acknowledge that there was a moral victory there. Is it going to give you a win on the score sheet? No. But I also, and I asked this question a lot to Coach Golish as well. And I asked him when I had him on the show. How important is it to acknowledge growth? How important is it to acknowledge steps in the right direction when you're building something? I think it is. I think it is important to be able to, all right, this is how far we've come. Is this the end goal? No, but there's the end goal. Look at where we've gone. We got to stay with it. We got to stay on top of it. Let's keep moving. I don't think it's black and white. I don't think just because you acknowledge how far you've come or what you were able to do in the face of adversity, I don't think if you acknowledge that, it means that you're complacent or you're satisfied. No, not at all. I think you look at the situation and go, man, look at what we did. Look at what we did in Kansas City against Patrick Mahomes. We did that without our two big guns on offense. All right, let's keep pushing. Mike will be back. We play like that every Sunday. We got a chance to win. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Not at all. You can still have high hopes. You can still believe that you're going to go all the way. I got no issues with it. Let's see what else we got. Bobby the Chief Taylor is going to join us in a couple of minutes. Just looking to see if there's any other breaking news. Again, it's April Fool's Day and never know. All right. I think we're all good, guys. Did you guys see man, I'm fascinated too. I just saw Tim Hasselbeck say this morning about Shedeur Sanders and that he's got him in the Andy Dalton range. Shedeur Sanders, to me, I think you look at Abdul Carter, you look at Cam Ward, you look at some of these guys, and it's like it's just your standard. Are they going to be good? Are they going to be able to translate from college to pro? Yeah, I don't think as much as they're talented guys, right? I don't look at them and go, wow, that's going to be a big surprise either way. But I look at Shedeur Sanders and I look at Travis Hunter, and I don't know how it's going to work out. I'm fascinated to see the situations that they go to. Is Travis Hunter as good and as productive as he was in college in the pros, knowing that he's not going to play as many snaps in the pros as he did in college? When you don't have the opportunity to do something like that, does it take away from your true value? Could. Does it become a gadget player on offense and then, just a regular corner? Maybe. I'm excited to see what happens there. And then Shedeur Sanders, how much of this hype is because of his dad? How much of it is because he's a really good football player? You're seeing a lot of different things. I mean, you have Tim Hasselbeck go on the air today, yeah, I think he's going to be like Andy Dalton. He's had some good moments in his career, but I mean, I think you're drafting Shedeur Sanders, and if you draft him in the top 2 or 3, you think he's your franchise quarterback for the next 10 or 15 years. Not just a guy like Andy Dalton who's, now he's backing up and he's supporting Bryce Young. He was a guy that had his best career or best years there in Cincinnati with the Bengals, but they can never really get over the hump. Can't wait for the draft. Can't wait to see where those two guys go. Do the Giants end up picking a quarterback? Because it'll be weird to pick a guy that high knowing that you have Russell Wilson, knowing that you have Jameis Winston, and it would just be catastrophic to have one of those young guys play. So I don't know. I think you draft Carter if he's there. You draft a guy like Travis Hunter if he's there. And do you sign either one of those guys if you have the first or second pick? I think that's kind of your get out of jail free card, having those two veterans. But we'll see. I'm excited. Rays back in action tonight, 7:05. If you're just joining us, against the Pittsburgh Pirates, Shane Baz on the mound there against Sir Thomas Harrington IV. The Lightning back in action tonight against the Islanders. I know a lot of people are upset because it's not on the FanDuel Sports Network. That's just the way it goes. ESPN Plus, Hulu, Disney Plus. It's a 7:30 puck drop there at UBS Arena. The Lightning at 43-25-5. The Isles 32-31-10. Andrei Vasilevsky, the first goalie off the ice tonight, so he will be the starter. I just had Chief there. Chief, you were there. Now you're gone. Where you at? I was just about to bring Chief in, and then he disappeared. I'm ready for you. Maybe he's got to make a call. I'm ready for you. You look good. Oh, Chief. I love Chief. He's the man. So just texting Chief so he knows where we're at. But yeah, no word on Isaac Howard yet. And I know Chief, talking to him, he doesn't necessarily, and I'll let him tell you for himself. I've been on the Isaac Howard train for like the last 6 weeks. Been saying it to anybody that'll listen, Eddie and Cena, Eric Erlinson, letting everybody know I think that it would make a difference. And I didn't just come up with this out of nowhere. This was something that Julian Brisebois, during his fireside chats, he brought up to us. So when he brings up that there's a possibility that Isaac Howard would just, because he goes down in the minors, he's going to have to go there. He's not going to be postseason eligible. Get him up here now. I doubt that he wants to go play in the minors when he sees Gabe Perreault and he sees Ryan Leonard. He could play with those guys. He has played with those guys. So you have an opportunity. There are some holes there in the bottom 6. Man, I just think it makes too much sense to be able to get him up here. As far as the salary cap goes, how many games does he have to necessarily play up here to get assimilated with the team? I don't really know, but we will figure it out. We're going to talk all things Lightning with our guy, the Chief. Keith Taylor, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
I'm good. It is absolutely an adventure for me to get on something like this. First of all, you know how Phil always complains about his big fingers. That's why he can't do that all well. Well, I keep texting the wrong things too because it's a mess when you deal with 2 old farts like him and I.
Yeah, that's why Phil just sends me emojis now. It's just pretty. He's given up on the whole letters things. He's just texting me pictures.
I know, but
he's a maniac. How are you, buddy? How are things?
Oh, he's crazy. Good. Yeah, very good. I'm anxious to see tonight's game, to see how the Lightning will handle the hard play and disciplined defensive play of the Islanders this year. I mean, tonight rather, because Bassey was outstanding for them in that win 5-3.
Yeah, I mean, how crazy were you going? I had other obligations. I was with USF when Cooch didn't shoot that puck into the open net. I mean, it got pretty viral when it got viral. Phil was he was losing his mind. I could just see his look. And that when I saw that, people think about that. I'm thinking about what would Chief say next to me during that. I mean, my God, that looks when you stop the camera with him right there with the wide open net, it looks so freaking bad. Oh my God, it was so terrible. Oh, I think we lost Chief. Somebody called Chief again. Oh no. This always happens. Chief is such a popular guy that people call him when he joins us. Come on, Chief. I hope we can get him back. I was hoping that this was just going to be smooth sailing so that Chief could come back and just be like, hey, it was a nice, easy time, Jay. Had no problems whatsoever with the technology. But, oh, wait. Chief, you there? Oh, what's going on outside there? Everything okay? We're close. We're getting him back. Let's see if we can go out, remove him, come back in. Chief is trying to get rid of the he got bounced. He's coming back. Chief is coming back. Somebody called, I guaranteed. StreamYard's got to fix that. They got to fix when somebody gets a phone call that they can still be able to stay with the interview. Because the fact that, and it happened to Gabby too, we're ready. Come back. He's going to hate me for this. Come back. We're ready. The advances in modern technology. It's the way it goes. We got to get Chief we got to get his own We got to get his own like dedicated line so he can just join us on the computer and then go from there. But we'll wait for Chief. But yeah, I mean, that play with Nikita Kucherov not shooting the puck into the empty net. If you saw the video of Phil freaking out, they put the audio from the radio on the video. There we go. We got you.
There
buddy.
we go. Oh, man.
Go. Did somebody call?
Yeah, I had 2 phone calls, and one was the guy that just got in town that wants to golf. The other one was one of those 20 calls from real estate guys wanting to buy my house that I never answered.
Oh my gosh. All right, we were talking about Cooch. What was your thoughts when he didn't shoot that puck in the net?
Oh, like, you know, it's funny. I mean, I almost was nuts as Phil, but see, we were always led to believe when we started out that, you know, winning is everything in the game. Doesn't matter how many points or how many goal assists or how many shutouts you have or whatever it is. Winning the game is the most important. And when you shot the puck, if he shoots the puck and scored, the game's over. Well, it didn't really end up that way. It got really scary there the last 30, 40 seconds type of thing. So I think what happened is, you know, he just wanted to make sure somebody would get another point, but you can't do that. Nobody ever gets mad at you when you score a goal. Nobody.
Right.
So that was the one thing that we were a little upset about.
Just a little upset about Phil was blowing a gasket, man. It was so funny. That's the thing. Phil's at that age. He goes, I don't care. The other day I said, Phil, you said that and this is the great thing about not being on radio and being on the podcast. There's no FCC regulations. But Phil said like 2 weeks ago, he's like, man, they played shitty. And then somebody texted me. He's like, did you just know that Phil just said shitty on the air? I'm like, oh my God, here we go. I was like, what are you going to tell? You're not telling Phil anything. He's whatever. It is what it is.
He probably said, you know what, Jay? He probably said shinny, SHINNY. That's what we called when everybody went out and played. You had 9 guys against 9 guys, you know.
Yeah.
So everybody was up on themselves, type of thing, out in the outdoor rink.
Yeah, maybe you should be his defense attorney. Maybe that'd be best. I'm with you though, watching that game tonight, man, because we know Patrick Waugh, they have their ups and downs with the Islanders, but Chief, I wasn't worried about the home games, buddy. I'm worried about the road games here. You have this road trip. If this team is serious about trying to get that 1 seed in the Atlantic, or at least stay above the other team and have home ice advantage in that first round matchup, they have to carry some good defensive play over to the road, and it starts tonight.
Exactly. You know what? And I was listening to Coop was talking, I guess, to the press this morning, and he even mentioned that. He says, it's not about us scoring. It's about us how better we play defensively. So they're starting to say that, even the coaches are saying that we've got to be much more aware defensively and play it. And they can do it. We've seen it, Jay. We've seen it at home. We've even seen it on the road, actually, when they taking case when in Dallas.
Yeah,
you know, that
Boston,
game they won in Dallas. Yeah, and in Boston. Boston, they got 4 shots in 40 minutes. Boston on net. I mean, you know you can do it. So what is it? Oh, well, we did it, so we proved to do it, so now we don't have to try again? I don't know. I can't get into the heads of these guys now. I don't understand the inconsistencies that they have, and they can't do. We got what, 8 games left, 9 games. You got to be more consistent than that. You just, well, you know, even Hagel said you don't turn it on like a light switch. So I'm good. I'm really interested in seeing how they're going to play tonight.
Yeah, 9 games left for the Lightning, 4 on the road. Tuesday, Islanders, Thursday, Ottawa, Saturday in Buffalo, Monday night at the Garden against the Rangers, and then back home Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, and Tuesday before the season closer. Back at MSG against the Rangers. That's such a weird quirk in the schedule there.
I don't know who I think they throw darts at a board to make up the schedule.
Foo. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, let's make them after 4 home games. Let's just go travel to New York and come back. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You speak about inconsistencies. Well, one guy, Chief, that's been pretty damn consistent is Ryan McDonough, and to be able to see him get honored for his 1,000th NHL game. What do you remember about him when you first saw him? What do you see now in his second trip with the Lightning? Because you know, you hate to think that it's just one guy, the reason why the team does play better defensively than it was last year. But, man, he is just as solid as they come, and he's been that way pretty much his entire career.
Exactly. I remember when he captained the Rangers, how solid a defenseman he was with playing, and I think Danny Girardi was his partner, and they were really good. I mean, they went out there. His whole idea is like, you got to play hard and good defense because then you have the puck more. And think about this. You know how many times I was up on Turnak's back all the time when you and I were sitting there and I'd watch and I'd just go, what is he doing now? Yep. Well, when Mac left and Cernak signed that big 5-year contract, with some pretty decent cash. And now he thinks he has to be a scorer. And you've heard me say this so many times. If you're a crusher that thinks he's a rusher, will soon be an usher. So
I love that.
I think and he's actually played pretty well this year. And the reason for me is he's back with Mac, and Mac makes him play a defensive game because he was really stepping out of character. He wasn't the high offensive guy. He was the shutdown, heavy duty guy back there. He's 6'3", 6'4", 240 pounds, for goodness sakes. And when he hits you, it's, that rattles your teeth. It's not like, ooh, poof, I get out of it. That rattles your teeth. So when he's playing that way, he's such more effective because guys tiptoe around you when you play like that.
Yeah, they don't want to even dump the puck in because they don't want to deal with the crunch. They're trying to stay away from you. One of the biggest topics, and I love talking to you about this because you have a little bit of a different mindset or Isaac Howard is the guy that a lot of people are asking about, Chief, now with the kid from Michigan State, incredible year. But now we're seeing Ryan Leonard, he loses at Boston College. He just signs with the Caps. He's going to be playing for them. Gabe Perreault is going to be playing. He left Boston College. He's going to be with the Rangers. We have yet to hear anything about Isaac Howard because of, probably because of the salary cap. You're still a little what are your thoughts on Isaac Howard? Because when you and I spoke about this, you're a little bit of like, hey, let's be cautious. Let's not, because he's not the biggest guy in the world, right? So you're a little apprehensive about thinking he's going to come in here and light the world on fire.
Well, this is what everybody has this misconception, and we talk about this, about there's guys that are suited for the top 6 roles, like Connor Sheary. He was been here. He was suited for a top 6 role. He's always played in a top 6 along with, Crosby a lot of times. You put him down in the bottom 6, they're the guys that have to do the dirty work. They're the ones that have to play the hard defensive game, shut down the opposition's top line and all that. Their game isn't suited to that. They're not, when you want to be, and so sometimes when you bring in a guy, I'm not sure, because I know the other 2 guys are going directly to Syracuse. They practiced with the team, I think, yesterday, and then went right to Syracuse. Isaac Howard, he's a good player, but where's he going to fit in the top 6? Especially especially when the team is pushing for playoff position, and we know that we really would like to get a home ice advantage because our road record is. I won't even say it. I won't even say it. It's so for me, he's got a lot of skill, but boy, I'll tell you what, there's a ton of difference between the American Hockey League and the National Hockey League. Now you talk about a collegiate team to a National Hockey League. It's really a big difference. The thing is, you have to think faster. You've got to play faster, but you have to think faster. You have to understand. That's why everybody says, "Oh, you play with Kucherov, that's easy." No, you got to be able to think as good as he does, or as well as he does. Excuse me, my English is crappy. As well as he does. You got to make sure that you understand and get in a position where he knows you want to be or get there. And so it's not as easy as everybody thinks it when you're playing with a high talented player. You have to have some talent yourself to be able to understand how he thinks and how he goes.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I don't think you're saying like there's no chance that he's good, but he would have to prove something to the coaching staff that he hasn't really had to prove, right? Like if he comes in, like maybe he can do it, right? We just don't know. I think what you're saying is like it's almost impossible to know that this kid could play a little bit more of a grinding style, because if you're playing on the top line all the time, right? Maybe he can. We just don't know. But we're not at the point right now where you can really be in a trial and error process, right?
Exactly. That's the key. We're still fighting for playoff position. You know, our magic number is 4 points, I believe, to clinch a spot. But we want to get that home ice. You know, like I said, like you mentioned, we want to finish no worse than second in the Atlantic Division.
Right.
You know, because we're the guys that are going to play the third place team. You know, so if the Panthers drop down or they jump up and take over for Toronto and Toronto jumps down, you know, then that's fine. But I want to have the home ice in that first series. The first series is the hardest one to win. First and then the fourth one. That's the two that are the hardest to win.
Right now, the Leafs have played 74 games. They have 94 points. The Lightning and the Panthers have each played 73 games and have 91 points. So a game behind, 3 points behind. The Lightning have the nod over the Panthers because they have more regulation wins, and they're optimistic. They haven't had Matthew Tkachuk, and that's a huge part of their team, Chief. I think Florida, if they're going to, you know, Florida's a good team. They're the defending champs until somebody knocks them off, but Matthew Tkachuk, you've watched him. I mean, that is a huge part of their team. And if he's not there, whether it's the Lightning or the Leafs, I mean, they're going to be happy that 19's not in the lineup for the Cats.
No question. There's no question about it. And also everybody says, oh, it's only 3 points to jump. Okay, that's 2 wins. All right. But it's also 2 losses to the person that's above them. So you're looking at a 4-game swing. That's why these past 8 games or so are really important, because if you want to keep, it's not just the points, it's the number of teams you jump over. So you're fighting with 2 teams basically, but we'll call it just one with the Panthers. So we have to win 2 more games, and they have to lose 2 more games for us to be in front of them.
And the great thing too about it is after these 4 games on the road, the Lightning have 4 home games. First game against the Leafs, last game against the Panthers. So, Chief, if they can kind of, I don't want to say tread water, but if they can kind of keep pace with these 2 teams and then beat both of them at home, right, then they can kind of be in control of their destiny. And I truly believe the one advantage that they have is in goal. I mean, and not taking anything away from Bobrovsky, again, defending Stanley Cup champion, but I am still in a 7-game series. I'm not taking any other netminder than Andrei Vasilevsky. What have you seen from him this year, Chief? Because, man, I mean, if it wasn't for Connor Hellebuck having a freaking insane season for Winnipeg, I mean, I kept thinking, maybe Vazzy could get in there. And Hellebuck skidded a little bit, and then he was a 3rd star in the NHL last week. And I'm like, you just got to tip your hat to the guy. But what have you seen from Vazzy this year? Because I feel like he's been pretty damn consistent all year long.
Well, yes, he's back to basically being Vazzy. Heard a stat just the other day. He has an .857 save percentage on high danger shot chances. That's the best in the league.
Wow.
Because how many times do I talk to you about when we're sitting next to each other? How many high danger chances are we going to give up? Excuse me. And that's the point. Vazzy is so good at that. So that's one of the reasons why the Lightning are still a solid defensive team, is because he bails them out so many times when they're giving up these high danger chances all the time, right from the slot. You know, how many times do we see it? And he'll make, the other night against Islanders, he had to make at least 5 or 6 bang bang saves, the first shot and the rebound. And you know, so that's why I'm saying I'm really interested to see how they're going to play tonight up in the island. But Vazzy, you know, people forget when he was out last year, the first half of the year was really his training camp.
Yeah.
He didn't even get a chance to work out in the summer like he did before, you know, so he was just, and then from Christmas on, look at his numbers. His numbers were crazy. They were very, very good. But everybody said, oh, you know, he wasn't very good at it. Well, hello, get your back operator on and come and play goal.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. When we're talking about kind of the team as a whole, we're looking at the defense, right? I look at a guy like JJ Moser. I'm excited to see what he can bring to the table. But you've been playing this 11-7, John Cooper. Do you think he's going to stay with the 11-7? Do you think he goes to 12-6? I mean, he's got the kind of the ability to do a lot of different things here, but you know, I wonder what he's going to do as we go forward. I feel like he's played a lot of 11-7 lately. What do you think he's going to do come playoff time?
I think that'll be a thing on the road. Like he's doing 11-7 again tonight against the Islanders. Chafee's back in, and Glendening's out. Right. But because he's a bigger team to go in there against the Islanders. But I think what it is the matchups are so different. You see, when you're at home, you get to match up the player and lines and defense pairings against the other team's lines and defense pairings. Okay, on the road, you don't get the last change. So what happens when you play a 7 and 11 combination, that extra forward comes off the top two lines to go down to the third, fourth line. They move that all around. So, what happens is that you see Cooch playing with two different lines, and you'll see Gensel playing with a different line, and even Hagel. So you've got guys that are, the home run hitters, so to speak, for our hockey club playing with different combinations. That screws up the home coach's way to match up their best defensive players against them.
Yeah, because for years it'd be like, just put him against Point and Kucherov, and it's like, wait a second, now he's playing with Gonsalves or whatever. Chief, before I let you go, I came up with this yesterday, and I want to get your opinion on this because obviously we talked about him a little bit before. I don't think Nikita Kucherov will ever win another MVP in the league because of the way he doesn't necessarily endear himself to a lot of riders with his not shooting the puck on empty nets and what happened in the skills competition last year. I said that it's going to take him to have like 30 more points than anybody else. But as long as there's McDavid, McKinnon, Draisaitl, Hellebuck, I don't think we're ever going to see him win another MVP. What do you think of that statement?
I agree with you but you know what? I just can't stand the Northern press.
Yeah.
The reason I have this for is just last year, he did something that no other player in the history of the game ever did. And that was a winger that got over 100 points, or 100 assists. 100 points. 100 assists. He was a guy, nobody's ever done that before from the wing position.
Mm-hmm.
He was 50% in on 50% of our away goals. And they kept saying, well, McKinnon was in on 20% of their away goals. Hello, try 50%. And then for me, it's things that he did that nobody's ever done before, was never taken into consideration, and nobody. Who's going to do it now? He broke.
Nobody's coming close.
Yeah,
nobody's coming close. Yeah, you're right. 100 assists last year. He had 44 goals, 100 assists, 144 points. Chief, they were saying at the halfway point last year at the All-Star game when I was up in there in Toronto that it was Nathan McKinnon's turn. At the time, Kucherov was leading the league in scoring. What are we talking about turn? If that's the way the narrative goes, that's why I bring it up. They're going to always find a way to give it to McDavid, to give it to Draisaitl, to give it this year. And I'm going to say this now, and I hate that it's going to have to get to this. He's tied for first in points in the league with Nathan McKinnon with 109. Yep. I think that he will not even be a finalist for the MVP this year because they're going to put Hellebuck there. Draisaitl's got 50 goals and 50 assists, and they'll put McKinnon or McCarr, somebody like that. I hate to say it, but I feel like that's the narrative.
I agree with you. For me, it's like last year when Florida beat Edmonton in the playoffs for the Stanley Cup. Who got the most valuable player of the Stanley Cup? McDavid.
Yeah.
Do you know how many shots he had the last 4 games against the Panthers? 2. In 4 games.
Right.
Now you're the best player in the playoffs? No, you weren't.
No.
You lost, and you didn't even help your team win the Stanley Cup.
Right.
You were nowhere to be found the last 4 games.
Yeah, it's so funny how the narratives take over in hockey. I think it's like that more in hockey than any other sport. He is the great Bobby the Chief Taylor, and also the guy that has, whether it's the pleasure or the unpleasure of sitting next, or the displeasure of sitting next to me up in the press box. We're always having a lot of fun and saying, damn it, these guys like the Russians in the 80s. That's just the way it goes. Chief, I love you. Thank you, my friend. Have a great rest of your day. Hey, it went pretty smooth, brother. It went freaking smooth, man. You technology maven, you. You're the best. Thanks, Chief. I'll see you next week,
thanks.
partner.
You got it. Thanks, Jake.
All right, pal. The one and only Bobby the Chief Taylor. He is the best. Just the conversations that we have in the press box, iconic. The conversation that we have during intermissions with Chief and Phil. Like, I feel like I don't even deserve to be a fly on the wall for those conversations, but they happen. But yeah, he's right. I mean, you bring up the point of Beverly. Thank you, Beverly. Our home record is shinny. Yeah, I don't know. You heard Chief, though, right? You heard Chief trying to defend his boy, man. I love that. That's what you got to do, man. You got to defend your guy. You got to defend your guy. It's a beautiful thing. I love it. Yeah. I love Chief. He's the best. But yeah, I don't think that we're ever going to see Nikita Kucherov ever win another MVP. I don't think he'll be a finalist for MVP this year. They're going to give it to somebody else. They just, it's palpable. It's not even like you look at a situation of, oh, well, he might, or he, no, it's not going to happen, man. There's already like a dislike in it. That's what's going to happen. So when these things, like we saw on Saturday, occur, when Kucherov doesn't score in the empty net and they slow it down, they take the screenshot, and then you look at him and you're like, oh, what is this guy? He's just playing around with the game. He doesn't care about the game, blah, 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 this and that. It's just going to add to the narrative. Like, just watch. If you're on Twitter, you can see there are people all across North America that just can't stand Nikita Kucherov. It drives them crazy. They hate this freaking guy. They cannot stand him. Now, part of it is jealousy because he is that nice, but he does things sometimes. He does these things where you're just like, it's like Manny Ramirez back in the 90s. Manny being Manny. Same thing with Kucherov. Cooch being Cooch. Just the way it goes. That's Nikita for you. But again, Lightning back in action tonight against the New York Islanders. Lightning.nhl.com. Go check out all the information on there. It's going to be on ESPN Plus, Hulu, and Disney Plus tonight, not on the FanDuel Sports Network. Stay tuned. We're going to go a little overtime on the program today. Dania Brooks is going to join us at 2:15. Dania, starting third baseman for the USF softball team. What a year that they've had so far. We'll ask her about the season, how it is to play for Coach Ken Erickson, one of the best softball coaches in the country. And what about the wild weekend that they had there in Wichita? Let me see. The roster. Not roster. Looking at the wrong thing there. Looking at the schedule. USF softball right now, 29-10-1. Yes, they tied their final game against Wichita State. It was 7-2 in the last inning, and then home runs by Alana Rivera and then Miss Dania Brooks tied the game at 7 apiece, and then they had to get home. They had to get home to Tampa. They couldn't miss that flight, so there was a drop-dead time at 3:10. So, unfortunately, the 3 runs that they scored in the 8th inning didn't count because the game reverted back to the 7th. So, it was a 7-7 game there. But what happened there in the 7th inning as USF put up 5? Again, a 2-run home run by Alana Rivera to make it 7-4, and then a 3-run ding-dong from Dania Brooks. And to be able to see what that young lady has been able to do this year for the Bulls. I mean, she is an incredible defender at third base. The local kid from Sickles High School, obviously the daughter of the great Derek Brooks, double nickel. She's batting .338 this year with a home run and 13 RBIs, 13 walks on the season as well. And she didn't start out too great offensively this season. So the fact that she's batting .338, and the thing that I love is that she's just all over it. She's quicker than a hiccup defensively as well. She's such a fun player to watch, whether it's offensively or defensively. Really, really good stuff. So she's going to join us here momentarily. You're right, Beverly, your road record. I know what you meant. But yeah, we'll get to that here in a bit, in about 15 minutes or so. Any other big news before we get to our WWE talk? Rooney, positive signs on Rodgers to the Steelers. We haven't yet seen that yet of what is going to happen with Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers. And we're still waiting. There's still a waiting process of getting the guy under center. And I don't believe Mike Tomlin for a second that he trusts Mason Rudolph to be the. You can't tell me if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan that you're okay with that. No way. But, and I think it's funny too, how people were saying that the Giants were waiting on Aaron Rodgers. How can they not make their decision about the quarterback position as they sit here and wait for Aaron Rodgers? Well, I guess that didn't happen because they signed not only Jameis Winston, but Russell Wilson. So now the Steelers are the team left with the bag, just sitting there waiting. What's going to happen? Is A-Rod going to come in here and rescue this team? They got DK Metcalf. You know, Jalen Warren is the running back. They got Kenneth Gainwell, came over from the Eagles. We know that their longtime running back, Najee Harris, is over to the Chargers with Jim Harbaugh. Steelers are a team to watch. They got to make some noise in the AFC because you have to look around and look at what everybody else is doing. Who's their quarterback of the future? It's not going to be Aaron Rodgers. Is it going to be 1 year? Is it going to be 2 years? God, we already talk about it like it's a foregone conclusion. It seems like the only person that hasn't come to that conclusion quite yet is Aaron Rodgers himself. All right, before we get to Dania Brooks at 2:15, let's talk a little WWE Monday Night Raw, Monday Afternoon Raw. Yesterday at the O2 Arena in London, England, a lot of these live Monday Night Raws have been occurring in the afternoon because of this European tour that they're on. It is advantageous for a guy like John Cena, who is overseas filming a movie, so it's easier for him to be able to get to these spots. And for the third consecutive Monday Night Raw in a row, we saw John Cena and Cody Rhodes out there. We finally saw some physicality in this one, and we finally saw some back and forth. Now, one thing that I've noticed throughout this whole thing is that there are these people in the online wrestling community, the internet wrestling community, the IWC, that are so biased that they cannot just watch the show without having their own opinions override what actually happened. Oh, Cody got cooked. He sucks. Oh, his title reign sucks. Like, just watch the product. You act like just because it's a predetermined television show that you already know what's going to happen. You already know what's best. Shut up. That promo yesterday with John Cena and Cody Rhodes was one of the best that I have seen. Back and forth on the microphone. I think Cody was cooking. I think John Cena was cooking. I think they both did a great job. I mean, for John Cena to say things like, I'm not going to cook you, I'm going to bury you. They've been saying for years, John Cena buries talent. I don't bury talent. I bury mediocrity. I am talent. Cody's not. He's just an errand boy that got lucky. And then Cody fires back saying Cena was nothing but propped up by somebody they can't talk about, with a reference of Vince McMahon. That was a good line. The other one I liked, and it made me laugh. I know some people, he said that there was more dick in his promo than there is in his jorts. I popped on that. I laughed my ass off. Some people are like, oh, he's always going to make dick jokes. Like, it was funny. It was funny. And for people that don't like that kind of stuff, like, oh, they think it's brash and they think that Cody shouldn't have to curse. Like, this is what happens, man. We hear it from John Cena as well. I mean, John Cena is another guy that he's known in the past to, you know, he gets a little mouthy. I don't see any problems with what that promo did last night. And then Cena looks like he's going to get out of the ring. He turns around, tries to attack. Cody hits him with the crossroads, and then Cody, you know, he stands there with his belt standing over John Cena, and then he walks to the back. But another solid start to the, to the show for Monday Night Raw with these two guys. And I like how Cody tried to make fun of his lisp and make fun of the, AEW and things like that. He tried to do and I saw some people online say this, it was almost the B Rabbit thing from 8 Mile, where Eminem, as he was going against Papa Doc in the final battle there, he just said, here, tell these people something they don't know about me. And he tossed the mic to him because all he did was rip himself for the 2-minute freestyle. Cody tried to do the same thing here. He did mention a couple of things, but John Cena did come in and hit him with, saying that, oh yeah, well, you didn't just go against the billionaire. You took his kids' money, try to take their inheritance, whatever. I like that. And I like that there was the physicality this time, because you can't just be the same thing every single time. And also, Cody Rhodes saying, I didn't sell out to The Rock. Nobody's ever chanted to me that I can't wrestle. Those are some of the sore subjects that John Cena has had to deal with over the years. This is a guy that, and I like that, or I didn't necessarily like when John Cena is like, oh, you're this manufactured guy and you're just a lesser version of me. And you're not being authentic. And I'm just like, he's Cody Rhodes. Like, this guy was crying when he first came back because winning the WWE Championship meant so much to him because of his dad. Like, and that's not storyline or that's like legit. Like, he wants to be able to achieve the greatness that his dad was never able to achieve at the WWE level. And he finished the story last year at WrestleMania. John Cena was on hand, but yes, he became Stardust, and yes, he tried to do a couple of different things, but let's not forget, John Cena was a guy that was this bodybuilder, and the only reason why he got another opportunity and didn't get fired is because he was freestyling on the back of a bus with Rey Mysterio and those guys, and Stephanie McMahon heard it. And then he come out, word life, it's the basic thugonomics, and he started doing all these things where he was freestyle rapping, and then, he wasn't the doctor of thug. Like, was that really who he was? Like, he liked to rap, but he was the doctor of thugonomics. I don't know. He was talented at it, but he wasn't the doctor of thugonomics when he started wearing jorts all the time and all these different shirts that match the colors with the hats and the armbands. Never give up, hustle, loyalty, and respect. Like, you're not respecting anybody if you're in battle rap. Like, let's be realistic here, Johnny. I like it, though. I want to see some involvement from The Rock. I want The Rock to be involved with this, because to me, you could have done this match and you could have had these promos the last couple of weeks without The Rock being involved at Elimination Chamber. Why was it so important for The Rock to be involved? Why did John Cena have to sell his soul to The Rock if he's not even going to be involved in the lead up to WrestleMania? Don't know. We don't know. Also, wanted to touch on this from Friday Night SmackDown. We didn't get to the whole favor with with CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins. I still think it's a little funny. Dave Velasquez, you're right. When The Rock called them the Fruity Pebbles, right? I still think it's a little weird that you're not going to have a championship main event one of the two nights of WrestleMania. We know that John Cena and Cody Rhodes is going to main event night 2, but we now know that CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns are going to main event night 1. But for me, I look at that and I go, all right, well, why did you say this entire time during the Royal Rumble? I think it was 25 times somebody counted that the winner was going to main event WrestleMania. Well, it didn't happen with Jey Uso, and it didn't happen with who else won? Bianca Belair. So what's the goal then, right? Is to just get a championship match? I think they should just change the wording, change the vernacular as they lead up to it, because if not, then it kind of falls on deaf ears. But that match last night between Jimmy Uso and Gunther, you knew that there was going to be a receipt. You knew there was going to be hell to pay because of what happened. When Jimmy Uso smacks Gunther last week, you're like, oh, man, where is this going to go? You don't let your world heavyweight champion get smacked like that and not have retaliation. And then you saw what happened with Jimmy, and he took a butt kicking, man. And it was the Crimson Mask, and Jay had his arm attached to the rope there, and he couldn't get his brother. And hopefully that's going to add some more steam, or kind of add some more energy and some more life into this battle, because for now, it's just not. It's not as like the entrance is great for Jay, but it's missing something. And hopefully that is the type of thing that injects some life into it. I loved it. I think you need that every once in a while. You need something that's a little bit more graphic and gory, instead of just some standard, between the ring, everything is good. But we'll see what happens with Jey Uso. Now he has to take what happened, and that has to drive him to taking it into 5th gear. Does that mean not coming through the crowd? Does it mean wearing like all black from the Uso Penitentiary days? What does he do to, fight for the honor of his brother who just got the snot beat out of him by Gunther? I cannot wait till next Monday to see what happens there. Also, some shenanigans and tomfoolery in the main event. We knew that was going to happen. It's going to be a three-way at WrestleMania between Io Sky and Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. They keep dragging it out. We understand how that goes, but we all know what's going to happen. You're not going to have Rhea Ripley not involved with a match at WrestleMania. We'll talk to Dania Brooks here in about 4.5 minutes. First off, USF Baseball back in action tonight at Redmond Q Field over there at the USF Baseball and Softball Complex. It's a 6 o'clock start. It was a sweep of the awards. When you look at the pitcher of the week with Corey Braun, a fantastic outing on Friday night. And then Marcus Brodell, the player of the week. I mentioned this yesterday real quick. I'll say it here. Marcus Brodell, 6 hits, 4 RBIs, a 600 average. We know the complete game shutout. 6 strikeouts, 2 hits given up by Corey Braun on Friday night. Conference series sweep, best conference start since 2015. First sweep over Tulane since 1993. First sweep over Tulane in Tampa. And you look at baseball, you look at softball, you look at track and tennis and lacrosse. My goodness, there are so many good things going on right now. And if you've ever been on a show with me, if you listen to the show, watch the show, I said this about 2 years ago. If you have never been to a game and to support one of the programs at South Florida, I don't care what sport it is, now is the time, because Michael Kelly is the right guy at the helm. This is the right leader. He's putting the right leaders in place. He inherited some great leaders, 2 of them being Ken Erickson and Jose Fernandez. I mean, these are nationally recognized faces and names in their respective sports. I mean, Ken Erickson was the Olympic coach, right? I mean, Jose Fernandez is a guy that's been here 25 years. So no, Michael Kelly didn't hire them, but I know for a fact he's a guy that looks at them and uses them as resources to make sure that these programs, not just those 2, but everybody around them, are like, we're consistently raising the bar. I mean, look at what Coach Mindy McCord is doing for lacrosse. It's mind-blowing. It's the first season we've had lacrosse here at USF, and they are balling. They just smacked Vanderbilt on Saturday. And when you have a new sport introduced to a school, sometimes it's rough. Sometimes it is ugly. Sometimes you see these games and you're like, hey, it's okay. You're new. It's year 1. No, these girls are trying to win the conference in year 1. They are not messing around. And it's fun. If you've never been to a lacrosse match, definitely get on out there. Again, baseball and softball. You get that ticket, you walk straight in, you got softball to your right, you got baseball to your left. If you have sons or daughters that play the game, take them out there. Take them out there, and I guarantee you'll have a great experience. We say this a lot when it comes to the Lightning, when it comes to the Rays. It comes to the Bucks, right? It's not just about going to these games because they're athletic competitions and you see elite level athletes. It's not just about that. It's about the event. It's about the entertainment. It's about the fun. And when you are so close to the action, like you are for baseball and softball, like it's you don't just go one time. Baseball, it's obviously the field's bigger, so it's a little bit different. But softball, you are right there. When USF played Florida a couple weeks ago, and my parents were in town, we sat there in the first row, and it was just, and I've been to so many games, and of course I've called games from up top or even in the booth, but man, to just be there when the players are right there on the on-deck circle and to see how hard these girls are throwing in the 50s and 60 miles an hour, like to see it up close and personal, it is game changer. It is a game changer. So make sure you go out and don't buy any of those tickets from secondary markets. I've had a couple of people reach out to me and say, I can't believe tickets are this high. And I say, send me the link. And they send me the link, and it's some BS second or third party type of thing. Go usfbulls.com. I have favorited on my computer. I go there for all my information for South Florida. Go there. You can get tickets. They're going to send you to the right links and make sure that you're going to the right spot. There's some great articles right now on Sammy Puisa's quest for the 3-point crown and all-star game with senior writer Joey Johnston. What's going on with tennis, lacrosse, baseball, and softball. Everything. What's going on, the facility's master plan, some interviews, really, really good stuff. This right here, even Brian Hodgson being introduced as the USF men's basketball coach. These are the type of things right here when people ask, what is setting USF apart? Why are the green and gold operating at a level that other people and other universities or not, or even other athletic programs or not, gousfbowls.com is like the spotlight for that. And Will Weatherford for USF said this at the introductory press conference for Brian Hodgson on Friday. Where other universities are looking to cut their athletic programs, USF is investing in them. Think about that. I saw St. Francis after playing in the NCAA tournament. They're going from a D1 school to a D3 school. The finances aren't there. USF is not just supporting it, they're investing in it, and it's continuing to get better and better and better. And somebody else who's gotten better and better and better this season is our next guest. We'll bring her in now. It's Dania Brooks on the program. Hi, Dania. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today. Come a little closer to the screen because we can't. There you go. And there, because that light. Yeah, because that light's behind me. There we go.
There you go.
Making shaking.
I know, like.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
All right.
Look at. I knew Chad's gonna be all over it. Thanks, Chad. I love you, buddy. So Dania, I mean, I want to get into the whole season as a whole, but I want to go back because I was watching the third game against Wichita State. Take me through the mindset. You're down 7-2. It's the last game of the 3-game series. You're down 5. It looks bleak. What was the mindset going into that inning? Because before you knew it, Alana hits the home run, you hit the home run, and it's 7-7. What was the message, whether it's from Coach Erickson or throughout the team before that incredible comeback?
I'd say the message we've been preaching all this season is stay together. Especially in those types of situations, it's one pitch at a time, one play at a time, not trying to rush anything, but let the game happen. And like the beginning of the inning, it was 2 outs, like back to back, but we were like, hey, let's take a breath, let's reset, like let the game play out. And I think it's just really that mindset of one at a time, really, that got us through that. So.
How about you personally, Dania? Because you come up there in a spot, it's 7-4, game's on the line. I'm watching it. I'm like, I just got home. I'm watching it. All of a sudden, you hear the 2-0 pitch, boom! And I was like yelling, "That's out of here!" I'm freaking out of my house here. I mean, take us through the mindset of that at bat when you hit the 3-run home run, and that feeling when you make contact with that pitch.
The at bat, personally, I was just like, if the pitch is there, what can you lose, honestly? Like 2 outs, bottom of the inning, just swing if it's your pitch. I knew it was a 2-0, so she had to come to me. So I was ready if it was there, and thank goodness it was there. And I just trusted myself. And obviously it wasn't just me. Those people who got on base before, right. Like KP's at bat before me, she fought through that at bat. Everyone else, like you said, Alana, she got that going too. So I think it really is just like building up. You got to let the game happen. I just trusted myself, trusted my teammates. If I got on base, I knew the next person behind me had my back and had the rest of us. So that was really my mindset going in there.
One thing that I love about, I think it's like this for softball, but I think predominantly a lot of the women's collegiate sports, just the mindset, the positivity, the togetherness, and I really wish we saw more on the men's side like that, because I don't think it takes anything away from being a good sport and being a good teammate. It doesn't mean that you're not trying. It doesn't mean that you're complacent. But what is it like? Because I saw there was a point this year where I think it was Kathy came out, Josie went in, and Josie ended up hitting a home run. And then Kathy was the first person in the dugout. She was on top step, even when before she hit the home run. What is it about your team specifically that highs, lows, good, bad, no matter what happens, there's a togetherness, there's a sense of team over me, because whether you guys are winning or whether you're losing, that shows itself every game, every time you step on the field.
I think genuinely this season, it's trust within the team. Like you said, Kathy was that first person there. It's just knowing that person has your back, and it's just, you really just want to support. Like, person gets pulled in to do a job, you're like, oh, they got this. Like, it's just that feeling of trust, and really just giving into, like, buying into that team aspect, really, I think is what is really helping us this year. So I think it's just really trusting your teammates, knowing they can do a job, knowing you're ready to do the job for them if they need, like, just knowing that you have someone's back this year. That's really what's getting us through this. So I think that's really where we're at right now.
what I love to see from student athletes, but pretty much anybody in any sport, is what they do. How do they bounce back from when things aren't going so well? Right now, you're on an 8-game hitting streak, but you started the season out without a hit in your first 5 games. So, it's one of those things where, baseball and softball, it's a game of failure, right? You have to learn that, like, I might go 0 for 3, but I can't take it out to the field because I still got to be able to field my position, especially you crazy self, because you're a third baseman, which I think it takes another level of wild and wackiness in the softball, because you have to be ready for the slap. You got to be ready for the bunt. You play so close. And I'm like, I can't imagine what your dad's like when he's watching it. I'm like, it's tough to watch sometimes. But what was it like early on in the season when it wasn't going well for you offensively? How were you able to snap out of that? And also, what has been working for you now as you have hits in 8 streak?
I think early on, you just got to keep going. Honestly, I had to keep in my mind, don't try to do something. Like, eventually the game will find you. The game will always find you. So I really had to keep that positive mindset of just keep playing, keep going. Even had a few discussions with my dad about what are you seeing? He's like, hey, the game, like he said, the game's gonna find you. Don't try to overdo it. I think just really, in this game it's a lot of failure. So that's what I had to keep telling myself, like, it's all right. I have another bat, a new opportunity each time. And I think the switch for me really was just relaxing up there, like just letting all the work that I put in and all that just play out. Getting comfortable at the plate. I'm doing a lot more of that now. So I think just going up there, knowing what I've done in the cages will play out in the field. So just really trusting the work I've done and the work I'm putting in. So
what is it like to have your dad there? It's such a great family atmosphere, and I see him there in his customary spot there, leaning up against the wall. What is it like to have him there, and the support from him to be able to be there and be able to bounce ideas and maybe some of the issues that you have when you're playing?
It's honestly it is a good thing to have. In true honesty, it's him and my mom. My mom is always, she does daily texts during the game just so I can go back and look and just see, like, oh, that good thing happened, or oh, maybe that didn't go my way, but I've got the next one. But just having them there is just always a good feeling, just knowing that they're in my corner. They're always going to support me, and just I know I can go to them if I need some guidance or just anything for them. Really, it's amazing to have.
Of course, we don't want to forget mom. We love moms. I'm a mama's
Yeah.
boy myself, so I am with you. But it's family is such a big part of it, right? Going to all the games. I mean, growing up here in the Tampa Bay area, and obviously knowing how much like love that your people have in Tampa for your family, right? I mean, your dad is a Hall of Famer. I mean, what is that like to be able to know, like, you may have people come up to you that have never met you before, but they met your dad once, and they, what I mean? Like, they're a huge Bucks fan. Like, what is that like as you kind of carve out your own legacy in athletics when you have a dad that is so well known here in the Bay Area?
Honestly, I roll with it. Like, it's not really something I focus on, or like if it happens, I'm just like, cool. Like, obviously I know he did his thing around here, but when it does happen, I'm just like, hey, like, it is what it is. I've just been grown up with it. It's just come naturally. So I'm just like, hey, thank you. Like,
yeah.
I just roll with it, honestly. Not much to it, but to roll
honestly, but you know what, Dania, you say that, and I truly believe that that's why you've gotten to this level, and that's why you can kind of go through some struggles and to be able to bounce back, because it's like they say, water off a duck's back. It just rolls off you, whether it's good, whether that's bad. And I think your dad was kind of the same way, and I think a lot of the successful athletes and coaches in the Tampa Bay area are the same way. It's like, you don't get too high, you don't get too low, you're intense, but you got to stay even keel, and things that you can't control, you can't really worry about, right? Yeah. You just got to do what you got to do. I want to ask you about playing for Ken Erickson. I mean, this is a guy, former Olympic coach. I mean, this is a dude that he's seen it all, and he's so stoic there at third base. He's walks over to third base with his black sweatpants on and, doing his thing. I love watching him and his mannerisms, because he is intense, but he tries to keep it Keep it here. What is it like to play for, this is one of the best softball coaches in the country. What is it like to be around him as a human being and also, during game day?
Playing under him, it's honestly it's a vibe. Like, he has so much knowledge, and sometimes you get within so within yourself, and you just keep asking yourself, like, what am I doing? Like, why is it not? And he'll just walk up to you randomly and be like, hey, breathe. Like, just chill. Like, that's been one of my things being here is really just breathing. It's what he's been preaching to me, and just relaxing up there, letting the game flow. Honestly, he just has so much knowledge to give, and he's always open for questions or anything like that. So he'll come into you like the middle of practice and just be like, what you think? Like, after you get done hitting, like, what are you thinking? Like, let me know what's going on in your mind, and then let's compare. Like, so I think honestly, it really is a vibe. It's a good vibe. And this year especially, he's just been really like, come on guys, like that game Wichita, he was like, let's stay together guys, like we got this. Like, one thing I've always believed is the game is never over until the last out is made. And I think like he gives that coaching style as well. Like, that's something that just has always been personal to me. And I think that's something he really believes in too. So that's always good to have in a coach.
I love that. Yeah, and you can see it. I mean, I truly believe that the best teams out there are just kind of it's symbolic of what the players are a reflection of the coach. And you see that with you girls out there and the way that you play. There's an intensity to you. There's that never say die attitude. What is it like to play in Tampa, right? Because I'm sure you have an opportunity. I'm sure you could have went to some other places. Sickles High grad, obviously the name follows you, right? So what was it? What does the decision come down to of you staying with USF, and what does that mean to know that like your friends and family can come to the games and it's not a very far drive? Like, what does it mean to you to play for the Green and go to South Florida right here in Tampa?
I'm a hometown girl. I genuinely love home. I love Tampa. I love to be around my family and friends. So that was one of the biggest factors in my decision. I didn't want to go far. I love the warm weather, but genuinely just like the family aspect, and that's what USF really gave to me was like family. It's a family here, and that's one of the biggest things in my life. One of my highest values is family, and that's just what USF gave for me, and that's really what came down to my decision to go here.
Well, we are very glad that you ended up making that decision. Before I let you go, I want to ask you about some of this. I mean, you guys have played some incredible teams so far. We know how good the action is in the American, but like you went to Austin, Texas. You took on Texas, right? I mean, you played them twice. Mm-hmm. You go and you play Florida. You play Michigan. Like, you played some really good teams. I know you're going to play Florida again coming up in a couple of weeks. What do those, and we see this in basketball too with Coach Jose Fernandez. I don't know. I want to ask the question to Coach Jose or Coach Ken. Like, did you guys bounce this idea off each other, or like there's a common vibe of, hey, can we play some of these top tier teams outside of the conference, and how that affects you during conference play? I'll ask you as a player, when you can play Florida, and I know the result wasn't great, but it is what it is. You get to see what that level is. But you go to Texas, right? You go play ball there. What does that do for you in the long run? How does that affect how your mindset is for the rest of the season?
Honestly, it's just a stay within ourselves type of mindset. Like, we know our abilities, we know our capabilities. We're going to go out there, give them our best, obviously, just play ball. It honestly is softball at the end of the day for both sides. But genuinely just staying within ourselves and knowing what we can do as a team against anybody, doesn't matter. I think that's what really is going to get us far. So
what's the goal for the rest of the way, Dania? What's the mindset? Are you guys like, do you talk about conference championships? Do you talk about NCAA tournaments? Like, I know you want to take it day by day and you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself, but is there any kind of like long-term goal discussion during the season? Was that before the season, or you just kind of take it one pitch at a time?
Take it one pitch at a time, honestly. Like, you gotta stay in the moment. When you start thinking ahead, you're getting too big. You gotta think about the next thing of the day. Like, at the end of the games, coach says, "What's next?" and we're like, "Dinner." Like, that's genuinely like what we're concerned about is dinner after the game. Like, we're not worried about the future. Obviously, we want to win. Like, everybody wants to win. We want to win, but we're gonna worry about the day and what's after, just step by step, not trying to do too much ahead. But
yeah, I think you have to do that at third base too, because if you're not paying attention every pitch, there's going to be line drives whizzing by your ears. It's pretty crazy. Dania Brooks, third baseman for your USF Bulls. Dania, this has been a fantastic chat. Thank you so much for your time. Tell Coach Ken Erickson I said hello. And yeah, keep swinging it. Keep swinging it. I want to see that hitting streak continue and continue to play that stellar defense at third base. Tell your family I said hello, and we'll talk to you again soon. See you at the field around the way.
Thank you.
You got it. Good stuff, Dania Brooks, man. That's the type of athlete that we have there at USF, right? The green and gold, such a great representative of our community. We've said so many nice things over the years about her mom and dad and just everybody. It's just, those are the type of people that we want representing our community. So yeah, go on out, go check out the girls, go usfbulls.com, get all your tickets there. Obviously they've already played 40 games this season. That's so wild to think about that. Their next game Friday at FAU. They have a 3-game set down there in Boca Raton. They return next weekend, Tulsa for a 3-game set, and then Memphis the following weekend for a 3-game set, at Florida, at North Texas. And then the last 3-game set is going to be home against UTSA May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And then the American Athletic Conference right here in Tampa, May 7th through the 10th. You can bet your bottom dollar that I'll be there in attendance if I'm not traveling with the Tampa Bay Lightning. All right, that's going to wrap it up for me today on the program. Man, what a good time that we've had so far this week. We got some great shows lined up for the rest of the week. We got Eric Erlinson joining us tomorrow on the program. We also have Ryan Helfrich from the Tampa Bay Rowdies. On Thursday, we've got Ed Encina. We've got who's going to join us on Thursday? Oh, Brady North, Ray's hitting coach, is going to join us on Thursday as well. We got some other irons in the fire. So yeah, it's the Jay Recher Podcast, man. You know how we roll. A big thank you to all of our guests on the program today, including USF third baseman Dania Brooks, Bobby the Chief Taylor, and Chris Adams Wall. I'm looking for a bunch of wins today, starting with Manchester United at 3:00 against Nottingham Forest. Hopefully they can take home that victory. The Rays at home tonight against the Pittsburgh Pirates at 7:05, and then the Lightning tonight on Long Island against the Islanders at 7:30. Again, follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Hit that notifications bell as well. Couldn't do this without you. That'll wrap it up for me. We'll see you tomorrow right here on the Jay Recher Podcast.